Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah.
Again, welcome back again. Hopefully everybody's here to join us. Hopefully everybody had a excellent weekend holiday. Got another fun session happening this evening. This evening we're going to also have Kaja introduce some of her business ideas. And the goal of her introducing her business ideas is so she can receive feedback. And in that feedback, what we're going to be able to do is challenge some of her ideas, and as well as and do her challenging is not meant to play the right versus wrong game, but in business, challenging is necessary to spark innovation and new ideas. And so part of the experience that you will witness, we used to call it the hot seat, but I'm kind of shifting that meaning. And the reason I don't think I want to call it a hot seat anymore is because the person is really not on the hot seat. It is almost natural and it's necessary to engineer people to hear your ideas and peers and then to give you different perspectives. Also, you don't need your peers to always be an expert in your field. Sometimes when you work amongst experts, you become blind to so many small things. And sometimes when somebody looks at what you're doing with no expertise in your field, they'll take their expertise and try to apply it to your problem, often opening up new innovative options that you didn't know existed. So quite often, like times when we're trying to grow our skills and talent in a certain particular field, we have a tendency to try to seek out experts that we can speak with. And we don't realize that sometimes by having a diverse circle of people you can speak with, you create wonderful ideas. And so today, after I cover about 4 subjects, we're going to have Kaja take my position and give a presentation of her product, and then me and Court will engage her, and then anybody else in the class that want to ask questions and participate. But definitely want this to be a process of participation. Next, want to share an interesting observation. This week, me and my business partner flew out to San Diego, or to Claremont, California. And in Claremont, California, we went to Claremont Colleges, and we sat down with some of the leaders at Scripps College. And Scripps College is full of a lot of brilliant people, very dedicated people. But brilliance and dedication breeds a lot of biases. And it also can breed conflict because you become very passionate about what you believe. And let me share something that I think that was really interesting. I think that's been, we spent the whole day kind of performing insights and doing exercises and brainstorming with them to kind of help them see what the problem was. And we did a lot of interviews, walked around, met students, got a chance to do some ethnography observations to watch people just kind of behave in space and how they engage the space. And, when you become very knowledgeable, you have no idea how many biases you develop, how many blind spots you develop. And one of the big biases you develop is you all have a tendency to always look for the big things. If you don't see the big things, then to you, there's nothing there. So give you an example. There's a story from Patagonia. Patagonia wanted to get into the surfing industry. So they decided to start this process of ideation by building a diverse team of people, some people who understood Patagonia but didn't know anything about surfing. But they wanted their opinion, because I figured if you don't know anything about surfing, you can kind of help us break into a market that has not been saturated yet with, wetsuits and so forth and so on. So they asked this Japanese manufacturer, to join them. They were going to all go surfing together and put on their current design wetsuit, and to kind of give them feedback. And it's funny, when sometimes when we say we want feedback, we already made up our mind what feedback should sound like. We're not really looking for feedback. So what the person did with Patagonia is they actually got everybody went to the water, and the older Japanese mailman said, "Oh, it's really cold out here." And because they're surfers, they said, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's cold." And no one noticed that little small comment was a huge comment in their industry. So they just say, "Oh, yeah, well, you have to get used to the water. You have to do this, and the other." And then later on, they went back and they reflected and they said, "Wait a minute. If it's cold for him, that means it's cold for anybody new that's getting into the water." And in most people's mind, a wetsuit is supposed to keep you warm. So if it's not keeping you warm and it's cold, maybe we should think about designing wetsuits differently with insulation. In addition to insulation, we would think about designing it in a way that is bio-friendly. And what the point of the story, without going further and further into what happened, is the guy said it's just cold. A lot of times when you're putting together people to give you feedback to make decisions about your business, don't look for those winning statements. Learn to listen to all the details. If you listen for winning statements, that is because you believe that people have magic. You still believe in Santa Claus. You think that there's somebody, you think Steve Jobs was so fucking smart, he sat in a room and was like, "I got an idea. iPhone, build it this way." You guys don't realize that serendipity happens in regular conversations. But often we can't hear the serendipity because we're only listening for nuggets. when the guy said it was cold, that was not the nugget they was looking. It was just for like, oh, the suit doesn't stretch a certain kind of way, or when I try to swim, or I felt weighted. They're looking for these really complex ideas that fit within their specialty, their expertise, their comfort, their biases. But if you're trying to expand into a market that doesn't use your wetsuit, you have to look for things that actually you would not think about. But if you're always running through this game looking for these super hot nuggets or looking for that super smart person, you don't realize you're missing all the opportunities because opportunities are staring you in the face, but you're too busy looking for something that does not exist. You're running around looking for a leprechaun. It does not exist. Magic happens at the crossroads of regular conversations. We'll say it again. Magic happens at the crossroads of regular conversations. You could be talking to a child one day, regular conversation. If you bring together, there's a rule. Well, I'll get to that rule in a minute. Because I got to have a section on that. So with that being said, we're going to jump into 4 subject matters. These are heavy strategy subject matters we're going to jump into that this is strategy here I'm about to introduce you guys to. So I'm trying to give you more and more strategy before the year ends. And so let's jump into the first strategical slide. You okay? Okay. Well, not right now. Not for this. These are short. These are not yet. After the presentation, she'll get the mic. But thank you, Josh. It's nice to see you care. Anyway, so... yeah, me and Dave Chappelle ride like that. Anyway, point is this. So knowledge without a process is not enough. This, I'm going to teach this in depth. I'm going to spend a lot of time around this alone. But this is the biggest trick of power, what some call racism, the others, black people call white supremacy, whatever. When you're impotent, you've told, or when you're a lower person on the scale of class, when you're less educated, you are often told that power is in the hands of the most smartest people in the room. It's the biggest fucking lie you've ever been sold. You know why you can't solve most of the problems? You know when you go to these events and people are discussing black culture and everybody's highlighting these different problems and somebody says, Shway, what's the solution? And because Shway doesn't get the solution, you think, he don't know anything. And then you look at the problem and your brain literally feels like it's about to explode. And you're like, I ain't got time for it. This shit's complex. And then you tell yourself, well, maybe we need somebody like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Elijah Muhammad or Marcus Garvey to come back. And there's a reason people keep selling you heroes. Hero is an illusion. This is again, heroes in business is an illusion. I'm not gonna get to the causation game. I'm just gonna stay with this one category. What you'll find is that the reason black people can't solve a lot of problems in our community is because we think knowledge is the key. How many times have you heard that? Knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key. Knowledge is not the fucking key by itself. Knowledge without process is not enough. I can send I can send the most intelligent people in our community, one person at a time, into a problem and they all come back as failures. But if I send a diverse team of less intelligent people, the group will always trump the individual. If you create a process will create innovation that no single individual within the group can match. Let me even go further. The process is greater than the sum of the individuals within the group. This is why, now, this is the smoke and mirrors. We use a process to create something amazing, But then I give Kaja the credit. So everybody thinks Kaja created the solution. So now you think Kaja's a super person. So then I say, oh, Kaja, Elon Musk is oppressing us. Oh, Kaja, Mark Zuckerberg, he's so smart, he's causing these problems. The reason we can't solve these problems is because this big system is holding us back. No, none of that shit's true. That's all hallucinations. It's all myths. Because you're still operating on the idea that knowledge trumps process. Once you learn how to design the proper processes to solve problems, you can solve problems that no individual man can ever solve. You can build things that no individual man can successfully build. But you have to learn how processes work. But yet we run around, like if you listen to people, when something happens in our community, oh, the police officers, this happened and they caused this and caused that. The reason we're so distorted on our assessment and even how to show up to it, because we think it's about individual players. Even when I remember when I used to watch Chicago Bulls back when Michael Jordan was playing basketball, and they'd say, Michael Jordan and the Bulls. I kept thinking to myself, you're creating a distortion. If you take some of those players off the team, he's going to be a really good player on a losing ass team. If you get a coach over there drunk as fuck, he's going to be a really good player on a losing ass team. If you have a Bulls organization that doesn't put a process in place for that person to soar, if there's not a system of people training that man so he can perform, if there's not people around that man so he can stay focused, even him by himself is not enough. The whole process of how everything's designed that allows him to shine in the process makes the process amazing. Michael Jordan by himself, nothing. 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 If the process says when Michael Jordan goes to the hole, 6 guys just get to jump him, I can change the rule. That's the process. But the process says, no, you can't do that. You guys don't understand the power of processes. I'll give you an example. Say you have a problem in front of you. I'll give you a quick example because we don't get into it really heavy. I'm going to like step by step by step by step by step by step by step. And I'm going to show you how to solve any problem you're facing. And let me explain another thing to you. If you think knowledge trumps process, you're probably a major procrastinator. Let me say this again. If you think knowledge trumps process, you are probably a major procrastinator. You know why you're a procrastinator? Not because you're a lazy person, not because you're a dumb person, because you're running into mental blocks. Why are you running into mental blocks? Because it was never meant for you to hear the solution. You were supposed to build a process to solve the problem. But what happens is that when you get to that stage where you're like, okay, I don't know what to do, guess what you end up doing? You go back to doing what you always do every other day, and your life looks the same. Matter of fact, this happens to your staff. Let's say you have a staff and you have poor creativity on your team. If you have a staff and you have poor creativity on your team, when your staff runs across a problem, guess what they do? They double down what they did before. When black people have a problem in our community that we can't solve because we lack ideas and we lack processes, guess what we do? We do what we did before. Nothing changes. Nothing changes not because we're bad people or dumb people. Everybody in this room could put together a team with just people in this room and outperform any mastermind in any field. But if I could convince you that it's only about knowledge, you won't even begin to seek out a solution because you think you're not qualified. It is not about your individual intelligence. This is the goldest game that's been sold to you. So in the end, you sit down at a bar with a white person going, this motherfucker's not that smart. I'm smarter than him. Why is he a multi-billionaire, millionaire? Why is he running this big-ass company? Because he understands processes and you don't. You're in there trying to be smart as a motherfucker. Trying to correct your grammar, write proper, say these, be innovative, and say these beautiful sound like Cornel West, all fucked up in the head. And no shit about, yeah, I'm gonna take a bunch of Cornel West every motherfucker time. Anyway, and yet still can't solve your own problems. Process trumps intelligence. So, for example, you sit down. I'm gonna give you a little sample of ideation, and if you've ever listened to somebody sitting behind me, she loves to talk about ideation. You sit down. You first of all, you've developed clarity on what the problem is. You have to have absolute clarity. You can't have distortion. You have to have absolute clarity on what the problem is, right? That means you also have to be kind of tight in causations. So you have to be able to say, okay, this happened because. You have to understand all that. So you have to have some real clarity around the problem. Once you state the clarity around the problem, you take the problem in your office or in your space where a group of people that's going to be working on a problem, and you just post it on the fucking wall. You tell every day, every time you come with an idea, I don't give a fuck if your idea is smart, dumb, crazy, or whatever, post a solution. Don't look for the aha, the super nugget. Go crazy, because in order to solve a complex problem, you need a whole bunch of solutions. You may have 500 possible solutions, right? And then you're able to wither it down to like the top 10, the top 5, right? Once you do that, you test that idea. And through the testing process and the whole process, you discover actual solutions to solve your problems. But when you have all those ideas flowing, what happens, there's a magic serendipity that happens. When people are posting solutions to complex problems together and they're looking at the problems on the wall, you'll be surprised how creativity is spurred just from the existence of everybody being part of the participation. The problem is that when you have a big problem, it cannot stay in your head. Let me make it better for you. Often, if you're trying to create a new business idea and you come up with a new solution, it should not stay in your head. You need to get it outside your head and share with people around you to help them process it. And in regular conversations and in regular intersections, when you happen just to be talking, great ideas will evolve. I know it seems like, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Have you tried it before? I probably have never tried it before. Two of you guys are running around looking for like this, this person looked at the science and there's all these different things. Now, what makes that team even more robust? Ideas don't come from anywhere, people. You're not a leprechaun, ain't no Jesuses, no magic tricks. Ideas don't come anywhere. Ideas come from, you're always learning all kind of different multidisciplinary forms of learning. And all of a sudden, your brain, when you relax, when you're comfortable, when you're eating, when you're going for a long walk, goes, what about this? That's how it happens for all human beings. The problem, the reason they got you so fucked up is because they tell you in hindsight, not in foresight. They tell you in hindsight, yeah, I was sitting at my house and I was pondering on this problem. I realized we had a serious problem. I gave a couple people a phone call and it came to me because I have this background in this and that and the other, and I've always achieved these great goals, and I knew that day I was gonna be successful. And you start thinking, shit, I don't never think of shit like that. They didn't tell you, no, it's serendipity, bruh. It was, I'm always learning, I'm always studying, I'm always reading, I'm always experiencing, I'm putting my ideas outside of my head. I formed a team to create an ideation process, and in the ideation process, we came up with motherfucking Eureka. That's the magic trick. So every time they tell you about, Martin Luther King, he just knew everything, and Malcolm had all the decisions, and Elijah was so smart by himself, they're selling you failure. They're selling you magic. If you want to understand those people I just mentioned, look at their teams. The teams make the individuals shine. This whole individualism that we've been sold is why we can't solve our most complex community problems, because we think, I got to figure it out, which your ego got you all fucked up. Yeah, I'm going to show up tomorrow. I'm going to have the dopest ass idea. I'm going to go stand on a mountain, tell everybody, let's go. And everybody going to be like, okay, we're going to ride with you to the top. And I guess what? I'm going to be written about in the books. I'm going to change the whole black community. I'm going to be in every history book ever known. All right, so when you finish your make-believe, let's get back over here and get back to work. Which is, you got to form groups to solve complex problems. And the groups got to be diverse. They can't be all the same type, because then you want diversity. And you bring 3 pizza makers in the room, they only need to tell you more cheese, large, medium, or small. That's all I got for you, dog. You got to bring a burger. You got to bring somebody who makes burgers. You got to make somebody. You got to make somebody who makes clothes. You got to bring somebody in there that works, that loves, that makes drinks. And all of a sudden, you start producing these amazing ideas. Amazing ideas come from the people you talk to and how you exchange ideas back and forth, not your individual brilliance. Once again, I'm gonna get into all the complexity of the process because I just kind of really brushed over the top of it. But we're gonna get into like how to do ideation properly, how to design, how to have a big problem that you want to face, whether it's I have a new business idea, I see a new opportunity in our community, I see a chance to change this, I see something I want to change in Oakland, whatever the fuck it is. Next year, I'm going to walk you through step by step by step how everybody in this room can lead a team of ideation and solve any problem. Any questions on that before I jump to the next one? We good? All right, next slide. A little time for some wolf talk. Sorry, Shabisha. You know what I'm saying? You like the wolf now? Okay, cool. So this is critical. Now, I'm going to summarize this and bring it back around. We talked about this a lot in this class. And it says, become organized in your personal life so you can become a wolf in business. Quite often, if your business is failing, you should start with your personal life first, not your business. Because when you get to work within your company or whatever, if your personal life is in shambles, it's changing the way you're showing up and the amount of time you give into consideration to your business. So, I'll give you two profiles. This is a typical profile. Guy gets up in the morning, gets ready for work. Picks his kids up, makes a lunch, drops them off real quick. While he's on the way to work, he stops over, pulls over a couple times, does a couple of texts. Gets to the office, he takes off on work right away. Busy as hell. Says a couple of highs, makes him some coffee. He's flowing. Then the supervisor walks in and goes, hey, we have a new problem. You have any new solutions? I know I've been telling you to think about this. The person just has nothing for you. You know why? Their brain is chaotic. Their personal life is unorganized. They don't have time to just ponder. Creative person, a person who's more ideal leader. They get up in the morning, they have a cup of coffee. They go for a walk. They may read their favorite book for a minute. They stretch. They get to office around 10 or 11 o'clock in the a.m. When they get there, problem lands on their desk, they have thousands of solutions waiting for it. You say, well, what's the difference? If you want to be a business leader, you need to have a lot of time just to think. In your time that you organize for just casual, I'm not talking about like sitting in a room going, I'm talking about when you get up in the morning, you can actually have coffee and read an article and chill. You can actually sit down and meditate if you need to meditate. You can actually go to the next level and on the way in, stop in and grab something that you really want and have a conversation with somebody. You can actually, if you decide after that, even go and do a workout or whatever. By the time you get to the office at 10 or 11, your life is you have so much time to process the previous day, the challenges, where you want to go, the vision, the history around your company, your imagination. Your brain is starting to put through serendipity again, putting together certain ideas. And because your personal life is organized, you become a beast in business. But quite often, we have to be a beast in our personal life, and our business is running like shit. You got to attack your personal life. Back in the days, when my life started getting chaotic, the first thing I would do is organize my home. And I mean, not just clean it. What makes sense? Then I would start canceling off anything that was unnecessary. So if I was saying, every Wednesday, me and Kaj go out for coffee, Kaj, I can't fuck with you on Wednesdays right now. I lock my life down, get it organized, get it some structure, create some time for my brain to produce. Anybody knows me, knows my schedule. I'm gonna tell you my schedule. Monday morning, I get up, staff meeting starts at 10:30? I get there by 11:30. Am I lying?
What's up, y'all?
Am I lying? Because I have a business partner. I'm like, Basham, I need you to handle that first part. He has it on lock. I'm going to get a briefing from him. But when I walk in, ask him what usually happens. Hey, team, I've been analyzing something this whole weekend, something I want to go discuss with you guys. Been processing something. I've been working on something. I've been analyzing some areas that we've flawed in. I'm looking at some areas I've been flawed in. Here's some changes you can expect to happen in the next few weeks. I leave the office around 1 or 2, go work out at the gym. Maybe work out for like an hour and a half. I come home, spend a little time with my daughter. I may cook some food, I may go to a restaurant, depends on whatever I want to do. I may not get back to work till about 7 o'clock. Next day rises. I get up that morning, I go run the stairs. I come home, do 2 hours of work, and then I go to the gym. I do another hour. And then I come back home, may work another hour. Wednesday, you might say, well, what's the rest of those hours? It's right here. You might say, what do you mean? Let me keep going. So Wednesday, because I'm going to teach class, I tell the staff, hey, whatever you got for me, hold it for Thursday. Wednesday, I get up, and I put on, either I sit down and read something, or I put on an audio book, and I just walk around the house and start cleaning up. Then I go to the gym, or I may go for a walk for a minute. Thursday after class, I wake up in the morning, I go for a bike ride for 2 hours. Then my 2-hour bike ride, I promise you I've solved almost every problem from the week in that 2-hour bike ride. I get off my bike with all the notes I've taken when I got it, because the way I take notes on my watch, I have a recorder. So when I have a thought that hits me really fast, if you don't write it down, it never exists, because it will go away. I hit my record, I share my idea, and I keep cycling. I get off my bike, give my team a call, go over some changes, adjustments, some strategy adjustments, ask some questions, do some reviews, look for biases, see where we are on deadlines. Now, mind you, I've called clients in between here and there. Friday rolls around, I go to the gym in the morning, and then I work until that midday, and then I shut it down that night and spend time with my family. Saturday, I usually do nothing that has to do with work. Sunday, I start processing work on my bike ride, and after my bike ride, I spend time with my daughter. You'll say, Dan, I don't seem like you did a lot. That's because you think about life through slave labor. This is again, you see in life through slave labor. So a lot of times you'll say to yourself, if I'm not working hard as this person, I'm not working hard. And the reason you work so hard, because you have horrible solutions. The way you stop working hard is by you start coming up with better strategies on how you get things done. A smart, strategic person realizes that if I let my team do the same thing every motherfucking day, guess where we're gonna be 3 years? Doing the same thing every motherfucking day. The way you grow a company is you have to keep changing and tweaking, changing and tweaking and testing, changing, tweaking and testing. But who's doing the analysis? If everybody's busy, who's processing the business? So I have to embrace my role. I have to be the one always learning, researching, building new relationships, and creating time for me to process. If I don't process, I lose. Meaning that I'm not trying to be the hardest worker to man. That's what my slave ancestors did. I'm not doing that shit no more. I'm trying to be the smartest guy on the team and design systems that take care of itself. This is why when you see high-performing people, they ain't got calluses on their hand unless they go to the gym. But a lot of us run around and we feel guilty if we're not working up all night long and moving things and picking up things and washing things and changing things. We're like, man, I don't feel like I'm working hard enough. But I'm solving problems. And I don't solve problems by always stressing on the problem. Sometimes I take my brain off the problem and it just solves the problem for me. Serendipity, people. Serendipity. This shit just happens. Because your brain is a cold-blooded animal. Your brain, remember, okay, many of you guys see your brain through willpower. You think what you will is what your brain does. But you forget your brain is pumping your motherfucking heart every day. It's running blood through your system. It's controlling all them goddamn organs. But all of a sudden, you think you're the only thing that tells your brain what to do. So when you have a problem, guess what your brain will do? It will be, in the background, it's always calculating a solution. But you got to also provide the space and the healthy environment for it to produce solutions. I'm telling you, for somebody who produces a lot of fucking solutions. I produce a lot of fucking solutions. I'm always designing. But designing is not sitting in front of a computer going, okay, I'm not designing. When they said, there was this research that came out and said that the reason corporate America is getting dumber is because they're not walking away from the computers long enough. That's serendipity. But some of y'all get guilty because you're not working hard. Because you had a job and you guys was having hard working competition, which because it's the working class. This is how the working class keeps itself alive. Well, I worked harder than you. Well, I was up all night. Well, I was up all night in 2 days. And guess what I said? Well, I slept 10 hours. Y'all crazy as fuck. Ask my family, do I sleep my 10 hours? I think I do not sleep my 8 hours a day, maybe once every 3 months. I lock it in. I will take a nap on you so fast and make you could be talking to me right now. If I'm asleep, I'm taking my nap. Because my value is not my physical labor. If you're learning and you're growing and you're learning all these strategies, do you realize how many, okay, so when you go talk to government or you go talk to people in high performing positions, so they're really busy, right? They on time, they meetings on time, and they're not thinking no more. Everybody know those kind of companies, you go to a big corporation, nobody's thinking because they don't have time to think. Like I think it was, who was the Jewish dude that was top of government back in the 70s? No, way back. That's 90s. He's doing the Nixon administration. He was part of Nixon administration. Jewish dude. He handled a lot of overseas issues. And Kissinger, when Kissinger was actually a scholar, and in college, university, he was known for his thinking and his papers, his articles. He said when he went to government, there was no place to think. It's too busy to think. So a lot of times, for example, we just went to Scripps. We're sitting in a room with people from MIT and all these high PhDs, everybody in the room, right? We seemed like we were 10 times smarter than these individuals. You don't look at, if you look at that, what it would seem like, if you're measuring by that system, no, we were not smarter than them. It's they don't have time to think. They're so busy doing. The university that has billions of dollars was doing this because they had no time to think. We come in, we're thinkers. We design our life for think. Even the meeting we had with them, they wanted to have a meeting around efficiency, which is a non-thinking meeting. We tell them, I'm not participating in that. I told them, I said, email them back and say, I will not participate in a non-thinking meeting because otherwise we're just doing the same old shit. So we designed the meeting to have thinking space. You have to learn how to design for thinking, which I'm gonna get into next year. So we designed the space for thinking, and then as we're thinking, we're showing them these little gaps and these ahas and how the wetsuit was cold, and all of a sudden their brain was like, oh shit. And they're like, how do you guys think like this? And it was a magic trick to them because they was buying that knowledge was greater than process. I came in there with process. I understood that you guys are busy and you guys think that in order for you to perform at a high level, you have to be the busiest. There's been a company, I can't even think of the company, there was a company that was failing, the numbers were falling. And the board told the CEO, do us a favor, only work 4 days a week. And I mean literally 4 days a week. Those other 3 days, help us save our company. And he said, what do you mean? Take the time off and just think. Go do shit you want to do. You're not going to create creative ideas and solutions to get us out of this rut if you're in the office all the goddamn time. That's the hallucination that white folks don't tell you because you've been in the working force for so long. You think that's how you're supposed to show up. You think, yes, sir, I'll work all these other Negroes. No, you're supposed to show up and learn how to value your process and learn the value of creative development because innovation allows you to trump competition. Anybody else any questions on this before I move on to? Go ahead. I'll pass Jordan the microphone. You're just gonna look at him like this. You got the microphone. She's gonna, I tell you, boy, I love my sisters.
So my question is, what does it look like behind the process, like in the midst of creating the process? Like, what does the footwork and the timeline look like for that?
Well, first of all, you got to get rid of the word timeline. That's a false assumption. There's some time push, but there's no action. When you're trying to solve real problems, timelines often become the constraint. Because now that's your efficiency trying to override your creativity. You ever meet a creative? Anybody ever know me when I was a commercial photographer? He has this rule that said, I used to create the environment for my creativity to happen. I've allowed myself to be dictated by principles of efficiency, and my work just dropped. When I created creative, for example, one of my rules was don't talk to me about accounting or major problems the night before my shoots. If you do, it's going to make my quality of my images drop. We would pre-plan all the details because certain surprises would steal from my creativity. And if my time was compromised based upon the time allotted, then that would also compromise it. In process development, if you're honest, let's say you work on a problem and you're working on efficiency, but you're producing poor solutions, you're losing time anyway. Opportunity cost is being destroyed. But if you could be more efficient and you're using time, have you did something slower but it was faster? That's kind of what processes is knowing how to slow the process down and make it rich in innovation and actually it's like speed versus velocity. Remember we talked about that before? It's like you're now trying to drive velocity, not speed. Where too many of us, when you're talking about efficiency, you're focusing on speed. You're thinking, if I move fast, I'm moving somewhere. No, you're moving fast, but you're like a hamster on the wheel. You're not going anywhere. How do you gain velocity? And the reason you have to know where you gain velocity is through processes, right? But now, in order for you to be an equal player in the process, you have to design an environment that tells your team, hey, your value is your ideas. And this is how you condition yourself as well as the team to enhance idea creation. If you have a team of people, you keep them hella busy, and you're like, all right, team, give me some ideas. They ain't got shit for you. They got trash. You haven't given them space to give you ideas. There's a reason the 4-day work week is being entertained now. It's not because human beings are becoming lazier, because we're not in an industrial age where stamp, come on, stamp. You're not moving fast enough, stamp, right? We're in a world now where innovation, we're in an innovation culture, right? And because innovation is the biggest thing right now, how do we design human beings for innovation? But some of y'all are getting stuck behind in the labor force of the industrial age. That shit is over, bruh. There's parts of this nation starving because they're still stuck in the industrial age and they're not coming back. The technology age is really the age of innovation. And if you're in competition, like one of the reasons I hate the phrase gentrification so fucking much because it implies because I have it, it's supposed to stay mine. The game says when you get something, you got to use innovation and creativity to keep it. Because other people will come forward naturally, even within your own fucking family. And so, how do we stimulate this tool that we need? And it's going to require for us to do a mental shift from knowledge. Oh, I'm the smartest person. That's a status game you're playing. That ain't gonna do with solving the fucking problem. Or the other one is staying busy. What you going to like? Oh man, I've been busy. I've been so busy. You're flatlining. And you're not even flatlining, you're slowly declining because as the industry becomes smarter or more competitive, as competition starts to grow, you're not getting better and now you suck. So the reality is that this is one of the techniques of business is that we're framing our thoughts around business from a labor force type of perspective, not from builders, scalers, and creators. It's difference. Like, if you start understanding processes, then you start seeing how to build a big corporation. You understand why the processes are necessary. You'll be able to see, as opposed to like when you work in a company and you in the mailroom. Okay, so I've been in the mailroom and I've been in the director's room. And the conversations are like this. And the mailroom's like, yeah, this and conspiracy, and they stupid, and this dumb, and this, and that's just been throwing away money, and that's a waste of time, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You don't understand shit. You don't understand no processes. You think they don't even work hard. I seen the supervisor. I seen the CEOs. They over there playing golf. No, they're solving problems, bro. A country club for white men was really an innovation center. You thought it was about them playing golf. You thought it was about them smoking cigars. So when you get together, you go, we bosses. You ain't thought about shit. It's because when they were sitting there talking, they were throwing ideas back and forth. And in that intersection of different people just sharing ideas, serendipity happened and something happened. And all of a sudden you have a duck is going to help me grow an insurance company? What? No individual would ever thought about that. But the serendipity of just basic conversation in that intersection produced something that you could have never imagined as an individual. Because once again, teams that understand the process will trump any individual. If you think about the most powerful people, some of the people that we celebrated as being brilliant, if you continue to read about this story, whether it's Einstein, whether it's Benjamin Franklin, learn about the processes they surround themselves with, the systems they built, the relationships they had, how they exchanged ideas with key people, how they received feedback a lot, how they was often challenged, where somebody would take an idea that's almost perfect, say me and Corp created a perfect idea. We would bring the idea to you and maybe say Kaja and say, rip it apart. Tear the idea as much as you can apart. And why would we do that? Because if once we get used to handling that, I'm now prepared to go to venture capitalists and have that conversation. Some of y'all are protecting this little make-believe Disneyland-ass idea that you have, that you made a few dollars off of. You protected it, and you hid it, and I ain't gonna tell nobody because they're gonna steal my idea, right? And then you brought that trash to a venture capitalist, and they smashed on you, and you thought they racist. No, your idea was bad, man. It's just bad. But when you see great people, they build that into the system. They build enough empathy, acceptance for the process, humility, to understand that. And also, when somebody gives you feedback, it is not a command. If I told you, hey man, that Court Smith's clean ass, because that's one of my favorite close friends, but that's Court Smith windbreaker sucks. You don't go into defense mode, or why it suck, right? That's not what you do when you develop a healthy team. What you say is, that's interesting. Why would you think it suck? Now, after I finish giving you my whole explanation of why I think it suck, you don't change your position. You look for creative innovations. Is there something you can learn from this? And as I'm telling you it sucks, I don't judge you because you didn't change it. It's my job to tell you it sucks so you can process it, because guess what? You know the hardest person to evaluate? It's yourself. Everybody in this room can analyze the next person to them. But if I tell you to turn that same power on yourself, oh, you get so rose-colored. Well, being that I'm fabulous and shit, I guess I don't brush my back teeth perfectly and shit, you know what I'm saying? I do got a cavity somewhere. But anyway, I think the only thing's wrong with me. That's the only thing wrong with me. Bullshit. I like your shit stink. But our brain is not good at turning on ourselves. So you need other people to turn on you to help you see your fucking self. Because in the end, you're playing imagine going to basketball practice with no friction. Who the fuck you compete with? Like the Teletubbies? What the fuck you compete with? Right? You need friction to get good. But then we get in the business, we get so sensitive, emotional, we can't accept the friction and make ourselves greater to compete at a higher level. And the higher you get to that level, they don't even feel the friction that the lower people can feel. They don't. I remember listening to an article by these economists, and they said, hey man, Donald Trump's acting a fool. How do you think this is going to affect global economics? I said, no, it shouldn't do with us. Whatever the president says, he's just a figurehead. It has nothing to do with economics. We don't give a shit what anything he says. It's relevant. While some people on TV watching MSNBC, this is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. And other people on Fox, this is some bullshit. You low on the scale, baby. Raise your fucking thinking. Your frequency is too low. Got to go to a higher frequency. You're playing a different game. When you decide you want to build, you can't share the frequency of the other commons. You got to go to a higher frequency. So we're going to get into this process. It ain't going to be like, I'm going to dedicate a large portion of just process. And you start realizing, oh shit. You mean all these problems I thought I could never surmount is just a process? Yeah, that's just a process. Just a process. And a lot of times, the people who are performing at the highest level, you got to start to learn their processes. Stop listening to the hero stories. You know, Steve Jobs said, fuck what he said. What was the process that got it there? What he said is how you selling me the trick. It's like the 3-card model. You got me all looking at the fancy shit, and the shit is in your palm. What the fuck wrong with you? Process. All right, we'll jump to the next one. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Got a question online. Someone's asking, where can I get your
Somebody give him a microphone because he try to pull his mask down and sound loud for no reason.
Ori Online wants to know where they can get your hoodie.
yeah, I said, look here. It's on Polo, Ralph Lauren. You understand me? Anyway, let's move on. Dude, boy, you can just text me that one. So, a couple of classes back, Shabisha was highlighting how we talk about probability and uncertainty, and she's very uncomfortable. She said, Dan, this is really uncomfortable because nothing's guaranteed. And then Nana comes to the class and says, fuck business plans. And I'd be like, but my school, my friend. I look at you like, you can tell what the fuck you want. It makes no fucking sense. You're like, damn, you just kind of, Nana, you got a big ego? Are you cocky? I'm like, okay, I'll ride with you for a minute. Then some of you get into these ideas of, I'm going to do this, Nana. I'm going to blow this shit up. And I think to myself, no, you're not. Like, who the fuck is this dude? Just hella negative or something. It's not me. There's something you guys don't see. It's uncertainty. When you start a business and you have an idea, you think, if I have this idea and in the next 75 days, 3 years, 10 years, if I follow these steps, I should be able to achieve success because I've seen Shakina do it before. So I think I can do what she did. I should be cool. And when Shakina did it, she wrote down her plan of how I became successful. I read her book. Matter of fact, I read it hella times. I can repeat every word for it, like a song. And you take off your journey and you crash. Let me tell you what you just did. You close your eyes. You left Alameda College. You got in your car. You close your eyes. You imagine where your house was. You put a blindfold on. You put your foot on the gas, and you just put your foot down and say, "I'm gonna get there." And you wonder why you hit the pole and the building, and you have no car. It's because in life, and as well as in business, there's this thing called uncertainty and randomness. World and everything's just keep moving like this. There's no guaranteed path. Everything's moving like this. So just because you have an idea doesn't mean it's the time, the place. Doesn't mean you have the market. It doesn't mean that things won't change. Doesn't mean that competition's not showing up. It doesn't mean that a TV show that comes on tomorrow and changes the human emotion. Here's the trick. Here's the trick. Move, test, move, test, move, test, move, test. Meaning that when you start an idea, stop going all in on new ideas. If you have a new idea, come up with a way to test your idea in the most simplest way. And through the testing process, as you get feedback from the testing process, you then increase your engagement. I'll give you an example of a story. So it was this beer company. This is a mall. And this mall wanted to attract more people to the mall. So the mall said, you know what? We should have a beer and wine at the top of the mall, which would have a lot of people come to the mall for beer and wine, which would really encourage them to do some shopping. So the company put out a survey, how many customers would actually come to my mall if we had beer and wine? The response was enormous. Everybody, oh yeah, if you had beer and wine, we're there. Shabisha would tell you that's called the funnel effect. Everybody said they coming, 3 people show up, right? So this company went ahead and built Because internally the team, they had a creative team, they did ideas, and some people was like saying, I don't think everybody's going to show up. So they put millions of dollars into this space. How many people went up there for beer and wine per day? About 6. So the CEO was like, what, did these people lie to me? Not the point. Did you test? Here's how the test would have went in the right way. We did a survey, say, hey, we want beer and wine. Your next level of test. So there's this one guy said, how much would you need to test it? Somebody said, well, I need about 3 million. Somebody said, well, I need about 20 million. So the guy says, no, shrink your test even cheaper. Guy said, okay, we did some work all night. We got it down to $200,000. Because what you gonna do $200,000? Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hire some folks up there. We're gonna have them build a temporary bar up there, and we're gonna have a couple different companies of drinks. We're gonna have some amount of drinks coming in. By the time we pay the labor and the cost and everything, it'd be pretty expensive. Dude said, shrink it again. What the fuck? And as they shaved the problem down, this is testing. They shrunk it down to 16 grand. You know what they did? They brought a folding table up on the top level floor, and they put signs that said free beer and wine upstairs. Come upstairs and we'll pour you free beer and wine. And they discovered nobody was coming upstairs, which was then told them that the beer and wine at that moment, at that space and that time, was not a good idea. A lot of times you could take an idea that's maybe robust when you develop it out, shrink it down to the minimal viable product, test it at the minimal viable product, and if you don't get a response, move on to the next creative idea. But when you just automatically think your idea is a motherfucking GPS and you wonder why you keep running into buildings, is because you think that uncertainty and randomness does not exist. When you build anything in a space of uncertainty, you do not control the path. You have to discover the path. Any questions on that before I jump?
I'm in the wrong side.
Any questions on that? We're going to keep going? Okay, I got one more, then we'll bring Kaja up to give a presentation on her business. Hold on a second. Oh, actually, 2 more. Oh, no, that's just one more. Just one more. All right, game. This game. This is the big drum roll. Big game one of the night. Of all the other ones, this is the biggest one to me. Desire over feasibility. You can also reword this as customer over ego. So feasibility. You're running your own business. You're operating from a space of feasibility. And what you would say is, I know what customers need. I know what they want. This would be a good idea. I'm going to make this because I see this as an opportunity to provide the market what they want. And I believe if we do this, customers will come to my business and this will be successful. I need to get the right people to come along. I got to find the right customers. I got to build a relationship. Guess what you're doing? You're building an ego plan. You're building a self-centered, narcissistic ass fucked up plan. What you want to do is design your business for other people's desires. Let me say this again. Simple as it may sound, rarely ever used. You design your business for other people's desires. Guess what that means? That means you have to go out and find out what other people desire. If you build a business and you don't align with what other people desire, you're really building a business for yourself, and you're trying to become a hero by showing the people that you're actually trying to prove people that you were right and they were wrong. The goal of business is to understand the desire of the market you seek to serve. You find a problem, you find a desire that aligns with that problem. And if you use that test method I explained earlier, you will figure out where the desire sits and how to design your products. Now, you might say, well, no, you're just talking about if I'm selling lemonade, I find out that everybody's thirsty. Thirsty? Don't pause me. Thirsty? And I just bring lemonade? More than that. What kind of glass you gonna put it in? How many cubes of ice do they desire? What is the person gonna be dressed like when they show up to serve the lemonade? What does your flyer look like? What kind of font you gonna use? Which image do the people desire? when should a person receive that flyer is most desirable? If they go to your website, when they pay for something, where should that button sit on your website to meet their desire? Can you see now how people get into this feasibility? Because feasibility applies to two ideas. One, I'm assuming what you need. Two, what's easy for me? What makes me comfortable? This is what I want. I think I want to go here and sell my product. I think it's a good time. This is how I want to do it. So I want to show up. This is why I told you I hated the fucking whole food market. They don't pay attention to desirability. They pay attention to feasibility. That's not scalable. Because if you get into feasibility only works when people have enough space for that. Once they are moving and you want to build a pattern and habits, you have to tie into their desires. Desire is how you grow larger institutions where you can go jogging on Mondays and go swimming on Wednesdays and go cycling on Tuesdays. Because what? You understand the market desires. Even when you design a website, you don't stop at the first font. You don't stop at the first color. You don't be like, oh, this design tight. You don't get to say it's tight. You're not your market. A lot of shit your market's gonna like is not gonna make sense to you. You might make this cold-blooded Black Panther black and white shirt, and the one that sells the most is the pink and white one. It don't make no damn sense to you. Got a Pink Panther on there. You're like, well, how in the hell the Pink Panther sold more than the black and white? Because that's your belief system. The market you seek to serve, a lot of times you're not that market. You're not. I haven't seen y'all wear the same colors all together every week once. I don't even see you right now. If I look at what y'all have on, ain't nobody wearing the same shit. Because you guys have different desires. But it's a group of people that share your desires. And often when you serve in that particular market, you become so inspired, motivated, passionate, blinded. Can't see shit. In order for you to serve a market, you have to pull your feasibility down and learn to spend time understanding the desires of the people you serve. Here's the thing, and you never stop that. Because the day you stop, you start becoming feasible. And all of a sudden, you're building and designing all this stuff that makes you feel comfortable, that's easy for you, that makes sense for you. Your website looks good to you. You're like, and here, like I was talking to my team the other day, and I was like, the best way to market, because my team was making a mistake. I told my team on Monday, I was like, you guys are narcissists. I woke in on Monday. You guys are fucking narcissists. Everybody, all of us. That includes me. What the fuck is good design? Mashama said it best. You ever walked around town and there's a handwritten note looking for cash for your house? Okay, if that shit works, that's good marketing. Ain't no pretty fun for that. But the market is seeking to serve based upon the emotional space the person is in when they're losing their house or they're in that negative space. That design marketing might be perfect. But you over there trying to get the perfect fun and have a fancy ass website. Nobody fuck with your website. You know why? Because they don't trust you. You can't pay for trust. You have to earn trust. And so marketing is not always pretty. Ask Kanye West. Some of that shit's ugly as fuck to me. But hey, Balenciaga and him, they was riding for a minute. And you might be like, that's some ugly ass rain boots I've ever, goddamn plumber boots he wore. Hey, guess what? Somebody like him. And he understood the desire of that market. But some of y'all get caught up in your ego and what you think what the world should be doing. This is why should is a cognitive distortion. Should is a money distortion. It's a distortion that shows up early in your business development because you don't develop your business ideas around desires. All your development ideas around feasibility. Now, watch this. Go back to the testing idea. So you're clear about the market desires. And now you're saying, hey, now let's test this shit. We're going to start building these minimal viable products to test the desires of a market. And now you start to build data on the desired patterns of your market. Guess how easy it is now to talk to venture capitalists? Different conversation now, baby. Because now you start to point out to them, I'm mapping out a path to my customer that's aligned with my customer's desire. The reason most venture capitalists lose the ability to listen to you because you're overcommitted to feasibility. Here's the thing with desires. Desires never stay the same. How many of you guys are still wearing the same clothes from the 80s? 90. Well, outside of Josh. Josh can't help it. Something has something to do with Jewish. Anyway, point is this. So, put it back on. So the fact of the matter is that we're always changing as human beings. You're getting older, kids, somebody cute in your life, gain weight, lost weight, nice car, raggedy car. Things change. Because of that, your desires shift with those changes. You don't get to just identify the desires and walk away. You don't also, going back to what we said about innovation and creativity, you got to always stay creative and have more ideas and less ideas. Remember the key word was go wide, not narrow? The reason you go wide, you create a lot of ideas to come out with narrow solutions, right? So if you're always trying to expand your ideas, you're always testing desires, and you're always in a situation where you're listening to the customer and making adjustments, you're getting feedback from your peers, you're building this system to become an entrepreneur, not you, Jesus Christ, you're the superhero fucking Avenger that got kicked out entrepreneur. That story you tell yourself is why you stay small. You can't be a boss until you have a team. You can't be a boss until you have a team. And some of y'all bosses with nobody around you. You're like bosses of the ants or some shit. I don't know, boss of oxygen. Like, what the fuck you bossing? This is why going in isolation is not a business move. We are a herd-based animal, and yet we've been sold the individualism story because we were the working force of this country for years. You don't have uncles that ran nations who would tell you, nah, you gotta build systems, processes for that. You gotta test. You gotta align with human desires. Human desires is Mickey Ficky and is counterintuitive. Anything that you think, I know what they want, you discover once you test, I had no idea that I was gonna choose that one. And the fastest way to get there is stop saying you know. This is why entrepreneurs have to be aggressive but humble. Because we don't know where the fuck we're going. We know we want to go that way. We know that we're building a process to get us in that direction. But we also understand that there's obstacles we have no idea that's about to exist in our presence. So you have to design a system to get you through the unpredictable randomness and uncertainty of reality. If you start thinking your willpower is all it's going to take, welcome back to make believe. You believe in Santa Claus. You got the game fucked up. This is a cold game. So when you look at, like, white people are so big. Have you ever sit around with black people, they talk about white people like they juggernauts? They're not juggernauts. They just have processes. Look at, okay, if you go back to Aristotle, they were talking about processes back there. Socrates, process. They've been talking about processes. If you've been in building culture for a long time and no one broke that cultural line and turned you into a slave culture, you brought all those processes forward, right? You come along, somebody literally, go back to what slavery was. Slavery was, I'm going to take you, force you to have a child, separate you from the child or kill you off, raise the children as animals, force them to have kids and then separate them and kill that off and keep that process going until slavery ended. Meaning I have literally reconditioned your brain to see yourself as just a workforce. You lost all your processes. So when it comes time to build a city, you say, let's go to work, y'all. Let's get that work in. No one even stopped for 5 seconds to do a process. No one even said, hey, go for a walk, bruh. Start working on an idea of how to start this idea. Let's start having a vision. Let's start mapping out multiple ideas. Not that aha, eureka moment. Many of us will get that number one idea that we all have consensus on. Like, oh shit, we over. We got the secret sauce. We got that jewel, that nugget. No, you ain't got shit. Because sometimes the best idea is an idea that didn't excite anybody until you did the discovery. And also, once you go out there and test, testing is a form of idea development. Because when you go and test, you learn, you're like, oh shit, I didn't see this. But if you ain't testing, you don't have the most dumbest, most narcissistic ideas known to man. You think you God. If you're not testing, not getting feedback, You're not creating processes. You slaving. Any questions? I didn't depress y'all or something like this. It was this Thanksgiving. God damn. Don't make it like my fault because your grandmother was tripping. Y'all look at me like, It's real talk. It's shifting from labor force to the mental force is two different ways of thinking. Leaders don't play certain games. Just like when you walk down the street and somebody homeless says, I can make a booger speak, and you don't be like, what did he say? I dare them, right? You just keep walking by like, oh, he's something wrong with him. That's how they treat you, the same way, because you're on a different wavelength. Now, can you get to a different wavelength? Yes, because it's not about intelligence. It's about understanding the paths you have to take to go from point A to point B, and it's not more knowledge. It's about building processes and structures and people around you. Now, you have to be knowledge engaging, because creative ideas don't come from nowhere. They take all the different things that you constantly always learning. That's why when you meet people at high performance levels, they want to learn about everything. They will be in the weirdest places having the deepest conversation with people. You're like, why is he talking to this person? Because even your level of what you're not doing is knowledge to that person they could possibly use one day. Everybody has valuable knowledge. And so when you're around people, you don't waste your time with arguments. You know why? Because that person is valuable to you. You want to just, hey, man, look, I don't threaten you, man. You dress better than me all day long. Listen, why'd you do it that way, bro? And as you get that game, you may think, well, no, I can't use that right now. You're right. You can't use that right now. That's not how it works. You continue to develop this comfort with knowledge. You're reading, you're watching things that have value to you. You may be reading some shit about how ducks became ducks. I don't fucking know. And then you turn around and you read something about business. And then you turn around how to make a carburetor work, and you don't even have a carburetor. You're like, what the fuck? And then one day a problem aligns, and those ideas produce solutions you never could have produced. And then when you develop people, you can just be having a basic conversation with somebody like, yeah, I'm working on this problem. And the person's like, well, why don't you try this? And it can be the person, the most ignorant person in the room. Okay, here's a little trick that y'all maybe not seen. And the reason y'all might be like, what? Now it's just being corny. You ever been in this class and a new student comes in here and they ask hella questions and y'all see me like, y'all be like, why is Nana going with that? Because a lot of times that person doesn't know what they don't know. But when they ask those questions that seem to you to be not so intelligent, they're actually changing the way somebody may have seen the information before because they were sitting in that comfort assumption that they got it. So the way you keep the group balanced is diversity. You don't want all smart people who are specialists in the same field together because there's no eureka is going to happen. We're just going to keep reinforcing and playing a status game and ego game and agreeing with each other unconsciously and shifting our opinion to be in alignment because we're herd animals. But when you bring somebody in the room and be like, I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about, so why y'all talking about this shit here and why does it work? What is feasibility? And as you start to explain, somebody goes, oh shit, it just clicked. But it won't click if you're around a very narrow group of people. As an entrepreneur, you have to go wide to get narrow. Any questions? I give you a hella strategy on early stages of business and to take that pressure off yourself to tell yourself that you need to be the smartest person always in the room because that's why you procrastinate so much. That's why you deal with this, I'm not good enough too much. This is why you always question yourself. This is why you shrink in the presence of white folks. It's because you think you need to be the best person in the room when no, you don't. This is the reason you go into an office. The goal of a smart process and procedures is you can't build it on super smart people, then it's vulnerable, it's fragile, no redundancy. I gotta be able to take anybody in this room, and if somebody leaves, court leaves, put you in that same seat and I'll still be able to run. So when I build a process, it has to be vulnerable enough to be able to handle a diverse group of people, and everybody doesn't need to be smart. If everybody needs to be smart, I don't have a strong process. One person can destroy my whole process. It can hold my whole process hijack. This is why when you go into an office, if you will go from desk to desk to desk to desk to desk, there's a lot of people, you'll be like, never again. This conversation is going to be so hard on me. They're not that smart. You meet somebody smart every once in a while, and they play their role in the ecosystem. But the unintelligent person also plays a role in the ecosystem. You just don't know that. There's equations on how many people you can have in a group for a group to work. Next year we're gonna get into those equations, those structures. Any questions? We good? Anything online?
No,
We good?
I'm over here like, I gotta channel my inner Lily and be like, what am I taking for granted in this conversation that I already know? Because I think I already know. I'm sitting here like, I don't have any questions. This is not good. Channeling my inner Lily, like, talk about her animal. What do you mean by that? No, that was a real question. Can you just tap a little deeper into human beings being herd animals?
You means being what?
Herd animals.
Oh, so psychologically, we will unconsciously align even though we don't intend to align. You can go into a conversation with the intent to disagree with somebody, and if enough people in that room say they agree with the person speaking, your brain will unconsciously shift your opinion. So if you're in a group of people that are all specialists, the reason you have a tendency to be narrow in your thinking is because unconsciously you guys are aligning without even having an awareness. The reason you want to have a diverse group is because that diverse person, the diversity of that group allows you to have somebody who breaks up that process. So you're designing so that process doesn't naturally unfold. 3, stop using diversity as just a racial thing. Diversity is a group of people with different backgrounds, period. We went to this college and he was like, yeah, the white men in this college, they don't get this. And I was like, oh, so y'all don't practice diversity. They said, what? I said, why you keep talking about the white man? If you're diverse, he's part of the team, right? We didn't think about that. Literally, I'm not joking. They really didn't think about that. They were so busy framing the white man as being the enemy and we represent diversity. I was like, if you're doing that, then do you understand why the white man is resistant? Because you just told him, we formed a new group you're not in, and by the way, you're the devil. Do you understand what's happening here? And yet y'all all work at the same university, serving the same students. That ain't gonna work. I said, so at the end of the day, diversity has to say that you're creating a healthy game that anybody from any background can compete in, right? Diversity is not down with the white man. I'm creating a game that anybody can compete with. If you say you're down with the white man, then you're not playing diversity, you're playing power shifts. That's unfortunate, that's how it is. He's like, you ever see somebody go through trauma and then when they find the victim of the trauma, they don't try to find the balance, they try to get them back? That's kind of what the trauma of oppression and racism and discrimination is. We're not finding the place where we can move forward. We're finding the place is tit for tat now. Horrible strategy.
So let's stay with that example of the white man, right? So I'm not practicing diversity. And just based on that example, practicing diversity, at least in this context right now, is kind of challenging. So I think about, you know how I feel about social justice, and I struggle, right? And I'm better at it, but it's still a place that I struggle. So if I think about myself and like practicing diversity in that space around people who are, Kaji, I love you, but I can't mess with the DEI people, I'm sorry.
What's
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Please stop stabbing me, go ahead.
I love you, but I can't, right? So, but, and that rum cake is crazy. That could be DEI.
Look, she ain't trying to mess with her cake. She's like, I disagree with you, but can I still get my slice of cake? Wait, go ahead.
True story. Yeah, I should have that. You would feel like me too. Yeah. But just in the space of practicing diversity in a space where I have places where I feel like, at least around in certain contexts, I'm in disagreement with the way that they're carrying it out. So, and I know there's value in earthly people, but you disagree with them in certain instances. So I guess my question is, how you confront that? Like how do you
okay.
do it?
So I mean, I'm at Scripps. I was at a meeting with folks in the rich LGBTQ meeting. I was in the meeting with folks who were trying to serve Black pregnant mothers, and they all, diversity came up in all those discussions. I don't go low, I go high. So if you go low, is well, that's wrong. That's right. That's wrong. That's low. We ain't get nowhere. We just be there all damn day, just slapping like this. That's just I'm not doing that. I believe in punching. One hit, you down, right? Anyway, but no, seriously, I was just joking. The punching part, yeah, but not in this context. What I do is the same thing with Scripps is, hey, we believe in diversity, huh? Well, what does diversity mean? Right? Can we get a consensus on what that means? And number two, if we say diversity, diversity means all people, right? So if you can't tolerate this person because they're different than you, then how does that represent diversity? Right? The problem is that the historical problem is you just been out of the diversity loop. We're saying diversity represents that everybody has an equal opportunity to compete. If I compete you, I got it. If I don't, I don't. Right? And quite as it's kept, since the internet came into existence, diversity actually was increased by the internet over any other. One of the biggest movements that ever happened around diversity was the internet. Now, I'm pro-Black, so I focus on Black folks first. That's how I get down. If you're Italian, I assume you focus on Italian folks first. It'd be crazy if you had my house every day talking about, what Black people need? I'm like, brother, you're Italian, go back home. But anyway, point is this. So at the end of the day, the way I go high is I go at the core of what are we saying here? What are we trying to achieve? Where are we going with this, right? Because even if we say we're going to shout them down to do what? To achieve that, and this is sustainable, right? And if it's not, how do we achieve what you wish and develop sustainability? And what you'll realize is that we're no longer us against them. It's how do we broaden the thinking? If you told me diverse institutions was about broadening the thinking of human beings and prepare them for the global market, because as we move into a global market, you got to be careful going to Africa with aristocracy in your blood. And so as you start to work with more people across the globe, you got to learn what is the process to meet somebody new and discover them and also not be fooled by them, right? Because the manipulators and cons take those little soft-ass open gaps and they exploit that. Am I lying? Come on, y'all know before everybody else was doing social justice, Black folks, we knew when white folks came out communities like, oh, y'all going through something? The cons was coming, baby. Oh man, yeah, we going through something. If I just had me like at least 5 or 10,000, I'm telling you right now, that would make my life. I go home, take care of my kids and everything. No, you wasn't. You wasn't gonna do shit, right? But in the end, and the white person be like, oh, you gonna take care of your kids? Get right on a check. I'm gonna give you extra 5,000. He's like, thank you, Miss Jenkins. I'm gonna clean my life up right now. Your ass ain't doing shit. But the reality is Miss Jenkins didn't see you. So we need to learn diversity is how do you also see people? Don't just talk about diversity without seeing people. How do you see the person? Stop project. Diversity right now is a projection. It's not an act of empathy and insights. We're not taking time to say, well, who are you? What's going on with you? Oh, you're a Black person who ain't shit, and you're a Black person who's amazing. But everybody's amazing just because you're Black. Everybody's amazing because you're gay. Everybody's amazing because you're short. I almost went back to Chinese midgets. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let them die. That's an old saying I used to say back in the day. But everybody can't be amazing because of a label. See, the value is that if you Black, straight, gay, trans, gender, just different race, different gender, or different age or different class, can you see me? And how do we teach people to see other people? Because your brain, based upon neuroscience, is not designed to do that. That's diversity to me. All the other shit is trash.
So are you there? Let me make sure I'm answering. Are you at that place because you have a heuristic that says, I'm going high? So I'm always, in any situation, I'm always looking for that.
I tested a lot.
Okay.
So when I first started, I was smashing. Fuck your diversity. Yeah, I knew that's how class was about 2 years ago, right? Fuck social justice. All that shit sucks, right? Now I don't say that anymore. I say, well, first of all, I align with the idea of social justice, the ultimate idea. I hate the methodology. And at the colleges, what was interesting, they were challenging, they were saying diversity doesn't mean what it really means no more. So now they're challenging at the basis of it, what does this shit mean? And so when you get into like actually looking at the word, how's it functioning, where are we going with this, who's benefit from this, who's actually hurting from this, because diversity hurts a lot of people as well. Then once you go into that deeper critical analysis, the problem with diversity is diversity was developed in social media through social proofing, which means it has no substance behind it. It's the biggest pop movement known to man. And we keep going through them. This is not the first one. We've had hella pop movements in this country. We had the Inquirer. Motherfuckers bought the Inquirer. That was trash. But that shit sold. The new Inquirer is social justice. It really is. I know this person who went through something. In a world of 8 billion people, there's no such thing as one person for me to get out of my bed for. Unless it's my direct family. This one person in New York got shot by this other person. I am not supposed to change my life for that. If you play the numbers game. It's unfortunate, and I feel sorry for that family, but I'm not supposed to walk out my house like, oh my God, who's gonna shoot me? You're in Oakland, bro. That happened in New York. What the fuck wrong with you? But that's how we're moving in this world. We're taking these examples of, I know this person, which is, go back to what we talked about a couple classes ago. Stories. Once you realize that most of your decisions and most of your beliefs are based upon stories, most of your decisions and most of your beliefs that you believe in right now are based upon stories. If you told me any belief you have is a story, is it factual? No story is absolutely factual. Let me say this again. There's no story. Your religious belief, your own belief of your own history is not factual. Your brain can't do it. It's not possible. Chemically, scientifically, your brain cannot perfectly tell me what you were doing when you was 25 accurately. Because your brain is striving to make you the fucking hero of all your stories. 3, you didn't see all the different perspectives to even be accurate at fuck. 4, history is not science, people. There's no science in history. Nobody can actually go back, okay, turn the camera back on in this. Okay, all right, let's look at it. Oh shit, that's what really happened? Okay, let's look at the causation that surrounded that. Oh shit, then what happened in this city? Then what happened before that? This is causation story. Watch this causation story. It was a group of people that decided they wanted to get rid of the wolves in Yellowstone. So they decided to get rid of the wolves in Yellowstone. Because they got rid of the wolves in Yellowstone, the deers increased. Because the deers increased, they ate away the willows. Because they ate away the willows, they caused damage because they ate away the willows, which got rid of the beavers. And because the beavers got disappeared, it caused damage to the flow of the river, which then continues on the ecosystem. Many of us would be like, man, you know what's wrong right now? The motherfucking beavers won't come back. You done missed out all the other causations before it. You see where I'm going with this? So when you look at history, somebody just tells you one level of causation. Well, this happened and this happened. Hitler said this, they shot. Hitler evil. Not trying to give Hitler no value. I'm trying to say to you that that when you look at history, it's not facts, it's not science. So there's no story that's factual. A young lady called me the other day. It's like, no, I'm doing this recording for Chicago Steppers. I'm really worried about getting this story right and accurate. I don't want to mess with the truth. So I'm trying to find the right people to interview, and I'm trying to make sure that I do this right. And I said, that's make believe. She said, what do you mean? I said, okay. Even when somebody tells you about what they did in that time, it's not accurate. What you realize is when you create stories, the only thing that's real is your ability to control the story. Because I could tell you the same story 4 different ways, and it may sound absolutely different, but only you decide which path to take. And you got to accept that you're the manipulator. You're not a storyteller's not a science. So let me show you why that's also crazy. So tell me this doesn't fuck your brain up. You know, the Bible's a lie. You know, the Quran, this didn't really happen. You know, Women King, that's not what they was doing for real. Do you know all stories are lies? It's called mythology, people. And if without mythology, guess what you would do? You would kill your babies. I'm not even exaggerating. The rules that you believe in right now is because of stories that were told before you got here. Stories is what let mama feed you, show up every day, and come home every night. If mama didn't have that story, she would have found the next cute dude and left your ass at the house and froze to death hungry. Because guess what? Human beings have done that before. And they created stories to stop that shit. No story is absolutely accurate, and it was never meant for every story to be accurate. The reason you tell stories is because it creates cultural order. So when you have these little kids coming out of college and trying to start tearing apart all these stories because they're saying this is a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie, you're tearing culture apart. A lot of those lies is what's keeping the culture held together. Nobody's story is meant to be analyzed for truth. It's does it or does it not work for you? Now here's your superpower. You could change it any fucking time you want. You can literally snatch any story you believe in right now and flip that shit. Like there's no story my father wasn't there. Okay, tell yourself another story. My mother was better than my father. I didn't need my father. If you just change the story, your mental health just changed. Me, y'all all fucked up because your mental health's fucked up on the story you keep telling yourself. I never had a chance. What the fuck you doing here then? How the fuck are you talking to me? This is crazy that you never had a chance and you still use fucking oxygen. It's a story. So, other people's story is not meant to be attacked. I will never tell another person your religious belief is wrong unless that religion is causing damage. I think Malcolm X said that. He doesn't beef religious unless it's working against the community. Which is saying, it doesn't matter if Elijah Muhammad told the truth or not. Did the story work for those people? It doesn't matter if Christianity was absolutely accurate or not. Does the story work for those people? It doesn't matter that the founding fathers wasn't really the founding fathers that we heard about. Does the story work for this country? And when you come in there with your old young anal ass thinking that truth matters because you think there really is a thing called truth when it comes to history, nobody knows. Nobody fucking knows. Do you know historians are guessing? It's not science. They don't like to go, yeah, so I think what Caesar was saying when this happened. If you ever watch when he read a history book, what it suggests Caesar was saying was he felt that Cleopatra was bad as hell. And you know how black women are that's literally what they would do. And they tie a modern day story to justify the story I just told you. And then you'd be like, wow, I had no idea that Caesar was chasing Cleopatra like that. That shit crazy, dog. That shit ain't true. It's a story. But guess what? If that helps a certain group of people work down the road, because if you ever read the book of mythology by Joseph Campbell, he talks about the power of mythologies. We need mythologies, human beings. We need it. My daughter, okay, y'all know I believe in God, but I don't do the Christian stuff. But I believe in God. I told my wife today, teach my daughter how to pray. Right? I might even have to take her to Chris Foster Church a couple of times. Because every human being is not going to grow up to have the same mindset I have. Also, how did I get here? I came here through Christianity. So even though I walked away from it because I'm like, I don't really want to do that right now. Not that I'm against Christianity, I just don't want to do that, right? I walked away, but it doesn't mean it didn't have a purpose. And I've seen children raised as atheists. Matter of fact, a nation that was raised as atheists is Russia. Ask Russia how that worked out for them. Every time they design an atheist-based nation, it kills itself. Because human beings start to create these micro stories that start to do this conflict. And then we start killing each other because we're cold-blooded animals. So these big stories like Christianity or Islam or all the other religions, you might say, that's not, well, in 1965 and 60, okay, first of all, that's you talking. I don't know what the fuck you saying. If that story got those people here, there's value in the story. That's it. It's not for you to judge because you got your stories. When we come in your house, start telling you all your stories are wrong. You're married to your husband, but I don't know what the fuck y'all doing this for. He can't cook and you ain't shit, so y'all might just gonna leave right now, leave this house. You look at me like, you don't get the fuck out of my house. My story matters. Exactly. So get out of people's motherfucking house. Respect their stories. All right, you ready, Kaja? All right, somebody give me a microphone. I'm talking some shit in the background. Go ahead. Go ahead, take my seat. Your seat? Yeah, you come up here. Yeah, you don't get comfortable. Yeah.
Chris Foster said, pull up to the Rock Church. We'd love to have you.
Huh?
Chris Foster said, pull up to the Rock Church. We'd love to have you.
Hey, between me and you, Chris Foster, not because he's just my brother. I said Chris Rock. But he worships the Lakers, so he can't be Rock. But anyway, Chris Foster, as quiet as it's kept, he's my brother, beyond brother. Like I love him like we was raised by the exact same mother. That's the story I'm telling myself. But I respect him because since day one, he's been innovating in Christianity nonstop. And when I was a kid, I used to dream, if I was ever a minister, there's a way I would want to be a minister. And to me, Chris Foster is that minister.
Okay.
Okay, and it's your turn.
Okay.
You present your business.
I am. First of all, thank you for letting me do it because, I'm sorry. Thank you, Nana and Court, for letting me do it because I'm starting out new. I'm changing my relationship with feedback. And I'm working in a silo to some degree, and so I know that I'm getting limited information. So it's helpful to me to hear what the class has to say because we've all been here learning the same principles, and so I kind of trust that the feedback is coming from some place of investment. I also have felt the pressure, not anyone's external pressure, but just my own pressure of sitting in this class for 2 years now, and I feel like, okay, you need to produce something, right? So then I got into the mindset of play, put something out there, see how it lands, and you can always course correct on the back end. So to that point,
Super tight.
someone pointed out to me just things that I was doing in my own personal life that I seemed to really enjoy doing and made a connection between possibly moving that into a business model, and so that's how it started. So my business is called K in the Bay Curated Events. I'm K because that's what a lot of my friends call me. And it's an experience-based business that focuses on creating a sense of community by connecting food enthusiasts with primarily Black culinary talent and artisan makers in the Bay. So it's an opportunity for people to connect with, or reconnect in a lot of cases, with their city of origin, because I would have this experience all the time where people would say, I'm from Oakland and you're going to all these places, I didn't even know this was here, or Oakland wasn't this back in the day and I didn't know that this was now a thing. So it was an opportunity for people to have some of the same experiences that as a transplant I was having and enjoying in Oakland. And I also wanted the places where people were interacting with me, which was primarily Instagram, where I would be sharing information about where I was going and what I was doing, to be a repository for local points of interest that people just maybe didn't know about. So the demographic, let me just say up front, I don't really have any research for how I came up with this demographic. I just felt like I needed to have one. So I thought about who are the people who are part of what I'm doing, and primarily it's Black women, 30 to 50 as far as age, with discretionary budget. I didn't really want to ascribe a number to that because I'm just working on not liking what that represents. I don't want to say if you make X, then you can get down, and if you don't, you can't. If you found the money one day or tax returns hit or whatever, if that's where you felt you wanted to spend your money, do that. So what's working well with the business so far? So social engagement is working well. It's definitely a social capital-based business model. So what I mean by that is I found a lot of increased engagement upon people seeing past events. So I would do an event, information would be shared about it, and then that would return greater interest for the next event. So early adopters have been really good at helping me to get the word out about what I'm doing. I felt that there was a built-in subject matter engagement because, again, people were watching me have these interactions just in my personal life. So there was some trust built. I know you know the spots to go eat. I know you know the Black-owned businesses or gift ideas or events that are happening around town. So I felt like I already had that working for me because people were already tapped into my own personal movement in the food and social space. And then what was interesting is I started to realize I had an opportunity to co-brand my business through my podcast, which I was already doing because I was talking to people. It's an interview-based podcast, and I was talking to people, and there were people who didn't know me but knew the person, so they would tap into the podcast, and then they would show up in spaces where I was talking about what I was doing in my business, and vice versa. I didn't know them, so the podcast was a way of connecting me and giving me additional visibility and relatability. That was the other thing that was helpful about the podcast is for people who maybe just didn't know me, if you listen to a couple of episodes, you're like, okay, I like her, or maybe I don't, right? Or maybe there's some shared relatability, and so you're like, oh, okay, she's doing a business, she's doing an event, okay, I'll go, right? And so it was also an opportunity to patronize and partner with other businesses within Hope. And this, I remember a few weeks back, or maybe it was like a few months ago, people were asking like, how does what we're talking about in here relate to my business? But I've been able to engage with so many of y'all's businesses in here, Josh, Jasadi, Cassandra, Fern, Marquita. I've been able to pay into the businesses of other people in the class, so that's working well for me as well. And then just to the point of what we learned in the early days, I believe, I could be wrong, that this is a virtually technician-free model, right? Because it doesn't require me to do anything that I wasn't already doing in my personal time, so I'm not having to go make a widget. I don't have to push myself to do anything in particular. I was already doing this, and now I'm just broadening it for people to do it as well. So the growth areas so far is, number one is scaling the profitability. So I understand most businesses aren't initially turning a profit, but I would love to at least break even. Right now, that's not happening. It's not a huge problem right now because I still have my day job and I don't hate it. I'm not running out of there with my head on fire, but I would like to break even at some point and eventually make a profit. Right now, I am currently funding the costs that are not covered by the ticketing of the events. So I'm questioning how am I going to obtain the startup capital? I don't know if that's grants. I do not want it to be loans. I don't know if it's sponsorships, so I'm not sure about what that area of growth is going to look like. The pricing, well, I just said that. Basically, the pricing model is relying on ticketing to fund the events. And also one of the growth areas is gauging interest outside of my friend group. So this came up a couple of weeks ago in class about, Nana, you said selling to your friends and family first, which I think is dope. If you could get your built-in group to buy into it. But I go back and forth with that because they're your built-in group, right? If your homegirl buys, okay, she's my homegirl. Can you get person A who doesn't know you, doesn't have any relation to you, to buy into it the same way? And I'll talk about that a bit more. One of the other growth areas was branding. So I was able to work with Danielle to design my logo. I have a couple of different versions of it, which I would love to hear the class's input on using different variations of your logo to signify different events, whether that's a smart thing to do or whether that is potential brand confusion because people are seeing different logos associated with the same business.
Pause 1 second. Pause 1 second. So I'm gonna share my impression first.
Okay.
You're intelligent as hell. I just love the way your brain works, right? Like I'm sitting over here, and if my heart had a face, it's smiling, right? So it's one of those things where I can feel your intelligence, and I think you have 100% what it takes to get down. I'm shocked by the podcast. Didn't see that shit coming at all. That's not an easy process. A lot of structure around that. But in the words of Shakina, you're not making money.
Right. Right.
Because if you ever fuck with Shakina, you gonna pay something. Look, you have to give her at least $1 to say hi. But the point is this, and so, so I think you should stop right there. If you're not making money, you can get lost in everything else. And trust me when I say this, it's not just you. This is Court. I know Court's been over there looking fly. Mm-hmm. We design clothes. You just look fly. But the point is this: the reality is that if you don't get the money making down first, or the monetizing process down first, you can turn this into a long-term hobby. And you got to always remember the cost of opportunity. Meaning that if you wasting remember, time, attention, money. If you spend all this time and attention on this, what are you not spending time and attention on that could really make you enjoy what you're doing? Because at some point, you gotta go from spending money to investing. If you spend, I tell every entrepreneur, we don't spend money no more, we invest. Mm-hmm. When I put money out, I expect to get something back somewhere. I don't put money out to say, I'm just gonna put this out, unless I decide to be, in my giving space. But in my giving space, that's a very controlled, curated space. Very, 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 very small. And then when I give the way I want to give that makes sense with my time, attention, money. But what I don't do is put it around. Fighting media is not a time, attention, money giver unless I use that for scaling advertisement or even learning, which is also a return for me. Okay. So I think we should circle around the money first, because that would make all that brilliance, it would set your brilliance free. Because that brilliance is real that you have. Like when you're talking, I'm listening to what your brain is very mathematical, it's very structural. You're very warm to listen to, that means you're good with people. And you're bold, because you go to East Oakland and hang out. And you ain't from East Oakland. Like that's like me going to Compton to hang out. I'm not hanging out in Compton. Just keeping that shit real. Because I don't know where the landmine sit, right? And you just think you walk in the store, you stepped on the landmine, and the shit's all bad now. So keep the shit 100. I think we should just circle around the not making money, and what are the steps to get you to the money part. And then this ain't your only time up here, right? But what I'm trying to get us to stop trying to do, if you try to go through the whole process and look at the whole thing as one, you're kind of going into that comfort zone of, I'm rejecting uncertainty. One thing you did say earlier is, I don't know. Well, guess what? All that shit you don't know, because you ain't made no money. If you knew any of that shit, you'd be making money, right? You wouldn't even be here right now. You'd probably be too busy making money, right? But the reality is you're never going to know, so you're always going to discover and grow, discover, test, grow, discover, test, grow, discover, test, grow. And in the testing, you might get into a couple loops where you discover, test, go back to the drawing board, test again, tweak, test again, grow. Discover, test again, grow, right? That's the reality of how life works. That's why when you start a business, any business you're saying start right now, understand, folks, you just gave up 7 years of your life, 5 years of your life. Because you ain't gonna if you take off in the first couple of years, it's called a hype cycle. And the hype cycle is you got money real quick, and then you're gonna drop off, and then now you have to learn business, right? So let's circle money part. Let's play with that. First question to you, because one, you're always the expert. Always remember this. Anytime I talk to you, you're the expert, and we're your outside consultants, right? And ultimately, everything falls on you. And so in the end, I have to always reflect on how you're processing it. Why do you feel you haven't made a lot of money yet, or made any money at all? Enough money to feel comfortable?
With the events to date that I've had, the first one really was not designed to make money. It was a litmus test to see if the model was feasible. So I knew that I was going to come out the pocket, and I did.
How much did you come out the pocket with?
Oh, I'm sorry. About $5,000.
Okay, hold on a second. She can't give me my pacemaker. I need my pacemaker real quick. I'm having problems breathing.
How much did you make from that?
Oh, it wasn't intended to make. It wasn't.
No, once again, somebody give me an asthma spray. I need my asthma spray. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't the no. But what happened as a result of that was exactly what I wanted to happen.
No, stop. Don't do that. We're a family, so this is family time.
Okay.
This ain't judgment time.
Okay.
I judge you when I taste that cake.
No, I want this. I want to hear it.
So a couple of things. One is that when you design that event, let's go back a little bit further, because I want to empower you. I don't want the old hot seat was a smash on you. The new hot seat is to empower you, right?
Okay.
All right. Okay. So you can see the entrepreneurs can even. They was dealing with cognitive dissonance. They were going, oh wait a minute, it's 5,000. Was it just 5,000 in cash, or was it Bitcoin? What you mean $5,000? It was hard for them to process it, because they've been trained to be on the other side of that fence, and you will too at some point.
Okay.
Okay. When you designed this first event, who did you work with?
I worked with the venue. I worked with the chef or the culinary talent that came in and provided the food. I worked with some of the people in this class, because I set it up to be a co-branding opportunity for what I was doing and what they already had going.
No. I'm talking about when you discovered what you want, not once you started doing it, because right now that's called, I work with all the pimps and I wonder why, I find myself in this prostitution, right? No, let's go back a little bit deeper than that.
Okay.
When you were developing the idea of, I want to do this, tell me about the circle of people that you was working on your strategy with.
Primarily me, but also some of the people in this class who I have friendships with who I could get good sounding board information from.
Okay, and did you tell anybody you was close to spending anything more than $200 and they were cool with it?
Yes, and they told me exactly what you said. You need to do this with the minimal amount that you have. They pushed back on the fact that I was willing to put a certain amount of money behind it. For it to have what I felt was the desired effect, I felt like it needed to be done to a certain degree of, it needed to be done to a certain standard for it to land as it did. And it did exactly that, but I had to invest. I looked at it as an investment.
Okay, so no, you looked at it as status. You just said it. You hear yourself? Okay, you interchange business with status. Status is you. Business is business. You said, I feel it needed to be up to a certain standard, and you paused it, and so I invested, which is when you say a standard, why that standard?
Because I mean, I don't want to be in business to be mediocre.
Why?
Because who wants to do that?
No, why?
Right. Because I was gonna say I don't feel mediocre, but I don't feel mediocre, and I feel like
You notice how you haven't made a justification for business-wise. It's been all you right now. But why?
I know as a customer, I don't want to. I tend to not want to spend money at a business that I might believe is operating in mediocrity.
So, okay, first of all, you're successful to me because we got data. If we didn't have data, then this would be kind of a weird space to be in with you. So everybody, right now also, you're the teacher right now. I don't know if you know that because you're giving hella game up because we want to use your situation to prove some game. Shakina, how many failed ideas do you have that you ever worked on? Just give me a number, rough number.
Just this year, 7.
7 failed ideas, just this year,
Just
7
this
alone.
year.
Okay, how many people did you think that can remember those failures?
Count them on my hand.
Okay, Court, how many failed ideas do you have in the last, like, say, 5 years?
Hell of
How many of those you think people still remember?
hardly none.
Okay, Shabisha, and all the stuff you ever done, and all the projects you worked on, the big projects in your leadership, how many of those failed?
A lot.
Okay, and how many were remembered?
People, they don't remember any of them. I remember.
That's the rule right there. No one remembers mediocrity. No one remembers failure. No one remembers poor execution. It's only when you continuously do it over and over and you kind of brand it into their brain. That's why testing is a powerful space because you can do all kind of dumb shit and guess what? No one's going to ever remember. I'm sure Court has printed some shit where he's like, why did I call it a duck and it was a pig? But guess what? No one remembers besides him when he's telling the jokes, when he's cracking up. But no one cares either. Because guess what? Everybody's worried about their own fucking stories. So that's that purgatory you can move in and make shit happen, right? So when they say minimum viable product, your ego and how you felt you would be judged kicked in. You didn't think about doing business. 3, how hungry were you for the profit?
I wasn't. And okay, if I'm being honest, I have felt that has served me well to be in that play space of entrepreneurship because I'm not entrepreneur for my life, right? So I'm not like, oh God, if I don't make a profit on this, I'm not gonna eat today. So I have the room to play and explore and try and fail, et cetera, or at least that's how it feels to me.
So Kaja, I just want to go over some definitions, and this is tech. It's not like you're doing anything that's outside of what is the norm in your particular situation. And a lot of times we get caught in this when we have jobs and we start entrepreneuring, but the definition of entrepreneurship is the exchange of your value for money. The definition of business is the exchange of your value, product, or service for money. So it's a shift we got to make in our head. It's not like we do it only for the money, but we know that the end of the day, it's the exchange of that transaction. So your metrics of success, the revenue has to be in there, has to be up there. So or it's a complete learning lesson to say, well, was it successful? Well, yeah, it was successful because I learned a hell of a lot of what to do next time in order to generate revenue or to make money. But for it to be like, I didn't expect to make money, I didn't want to make money, and it was a success, it's a textbook mistakes that we all make as intro entrepreneurs. So it's not like a knock to you. It's just once you get to that stage where you got to adjust your thinking to say, no, I want to learn, I want to play, but I want to make money. And if I didn't make money, then what can I learn about to do next time in order to maybe make $1, maybe $5, maybe 20, 100, and then build from there.
Okay.
And also, is opportunity cost. So every time you don't make money, you take money for something else you can be invested in. Every time you don't make money, you stole time for something else that's valuable to you. Every time you didn't make money, or every time you was out there and you gave up all that attention, is how many things you neglected that you have to spend money for later on, right? And so the reality is that we got to take away that definition of money. One of the things I used to work with a lot of Christian folks around a biblical story that I think is first of all, I think the Bible is very powerful. But the story was the love of money. As entrepreneurs, we know that there's a difference between being entrepreneurs and loving money. Loving money is, your customers can feel when you love money. Matter of fact, you could tell the love of money when a company makes a bad investment and they try to recover it through the customer. You'll feel it. You're like, this feels real, like they want to charge you for every fucking thing. Like you want to call me, ask me for a problem, or before I say 2 words, that's $100, and then before we do this, you be like, whoa, what the fuck, right? There's a certain type of thing where we make a long-term investment in our customers, right? There's a cost of having a customer. So, and then we understand the value of relationships is planting seeds so we can eat tomorrow, right? You have to till the soil in business all the time, and there's a cost to tilling the soil. You don't get to just wake up tomorrow and there's this land producing fruit for you and just go out there and pick it freely. It ain't 2 people on earth, and this ain't the Garden of Eden, right? If you go out there and you didn't till the land, ain't nothing out there for you. But you weren't tilling the land. You were investing in an idea that you had, that you wanted to test, which I think, by the way, is superb. Your methodology is flawed. Because your methodology is this idea that I would have told you, hey, listen, let's think of a way to cut all those corners down and get down to nothing under $100. Under $100. Because then think about that. Now you have room to learn aggressively. You have no emotional baggage that goes along with that. Because spending $5,000, you start getting a little emotional baggage. You know, like if the chef don't show up on time, this motherfucker, I done paid this month for $2,000. I ain't up this motherfucker, I'm feeling some kind of way, right? But that's your fault, right? You could have I'm just playing around. You could have went to somebody who already had a fully established business. Took the idea you had, because you also have to figure out, here's the other thing I'm not hearing from you, that I think you got to put research in. How do you monetize this shit?
Yes.
If you're not clear on how to monetize this shit that you found, and I think there's a way to monetize it, right? Just like YouTubers monetize their engagement. There's a way to monetize some shit. But you got to clearly define that path so you know that everything you're doing is helping you take a step to climb that journey. Otherwise, you can get caught up in interesting things and never get anywhere. I think you having a desire is perfect. I think you having insight perfect, but I think it's a little bit more development on the idea. And here's the thing: you don't have to develop the idea tomorrow, or this week, or this month. If you learn a cheaper way to test ideas and build a circle of people that you can listen to, like when they come against you, you learn to either give it consideration, see if they're true or not, but use that team to help you enhance your decision making. 6 months from now, you may have ideas so much more robust. People are like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's nice. So we're not shitting on your passion, your desire, and where you want to go. What we're saying is that you jumped the gun. You jumped up there like as if you already had the money ready to go, opportunities in front of you, desire measured, perfect location, everything's primed, go. And also like, oh, they didn't show up, but I did all the work and I already figured out where my money will come from. You know, you might be needing advertisement money. You might be building a magazine later on, or some type of digital or some type of website where people come to your site to get this information that serves Black community within our interests, and the data's organized so well that I can see me and maybe my cousin who's gangster shit can see himself, and we'll both go to that site and get exactly what we want. It's a perfect site, right? And then you monetize it through maybe not membership, maybe through advertisement, and then between the podcast, pouring into it, and building a fan base, and then being partnerships, and then monetizing those partnerships. Like you build all these monetized options built in your business, and all of a sudden now you have a multi-million dollar business, and guess who doesn't do all the work? You don't, right? And if you're clear about that path towards the money, I'm gonna keep it hood for a few minutes. If you're clear about how to get the money, how to get the bag, now it's easier to motivate and push that desire to your investors, to your future employees. But if you ain't got no money, you almost run out of weed. It's almost like saying, yo, I'm the flyest cat in the world. I got all the motherfucking money in the world. So like when I was sleeping on my mother's couch last night, I told her, I said, Mama, I get my own place. That's what it sounded like to me. Like it's such a contrast that the joy is in your head, but it's not in your reality.
Well,
I got two things, Kasha, and I'm gonna pass the mic. First is what is your relationship with rejection?
it depends on what I'm being rejected from.
Microphone.
Oh, it depends on what I'm being rejected.
Rejection in general, just rejection.
I mean, I don't love it, but I mean, it's a factor. It happens.
I say this to say, when you say the word, when you say I'm playing, a lot of times we try to frame certain things so that we don't have to feel rejection, because that's just us as humans. Like, being an entrepreneur is some of the most counterintuitive shit you ever got to get into. And sometimes you have to reprogram yourself on shit that's just not normal for a human. And one of them is getting super comfortable with rejection so that you can be completely honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. And that means, all right, I'm spending 5 G's or whatever the amount for this event, and I intend setting your intentions of what you want. I want to do this. This is what playing is. Mm-hmm. And say 5 people show up. Fuck, I fucked up. All right, I intended for this to happen. That happened. What can I learn from it? And that's the game you play with yourself. The rejection of it all is just part of it, right? Feeling rejection, that's part of the learning. Don't run from it no more. As an entrepreneur, don't run from rejection. Take it in, because that's what the play is about.
Okay.
The play is about your dance with success and failure. You know, that's the dance. And you get comfortable with both sides over time, to where I'm going to make money when I fail. When I get rejected, I'm about to make money the next time. The second thing is, remember Nana gave that illustration about the sign where it said, we'll buy houses, and it's written in fucking hand. It don't motherfucking matter how beautifully written it is, as long as it matches. Now, if that handwritten sign has a conversion rate of 48%, that is the most beautiful fucking sign I ever seen in my life. It's the most beautiful sign. And a lot of people who aren't entrepreneurs or perfectionists, they'll walk past and talk shit about the sign. They'll walk into a store and nitpick shit at the store, or nitpick something in somebody's brand, and that brand is booming for that customer base. So our perfection don't mean shit. Mm-hmm. It's the perfection, or it's the excellence for the customer. That's the shit. And you know when that rhythm, that conduit between you and your customer is so fucking thick and wide, you know that's the shit at that point. The money's flowing. Okay. And then the last thing I was gonna say is just what you do. It was a little bit challenging for me to understand, what it actually is. So maybe I just need an education a little bit better to like a third grade level of like, all right, this is what I do. I throw events for black people that need to know where they're going when they just moved here, or something to where it's like, oh shit, it's easy for me to understand because you're so intelligent. You're so intelligent and like,
Hell intelligent.
so intelligent. So like I'm remedial at a lot of times. So like when I hear it, I'm like, oh shit, what does that mean? Damn, that's hella complicated. Well, I guess I can't go. You know what I'm saying? Versus like, I want you to go. Because it's for, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So here's
okay.
next steps.
Thank you.
Here's next steps. Let's make it really simple for you. One, I need you to go do some research on how to make money. Because you're coming back. You're not. This ain't gonna be a one time. You're gonna have a few runs up here.
Well, can I just say one thing? The good news is between event 1 and event 2, I got my out-of-pocket costs down from $5,000 to $450. So I got it way down, and my intention is for each event to get to break even, working into profitability.
So I went from asthma to a cough drop. So I'm not dead, but I'm still not feeling good. so okay. The key is that I need you to map out ways to monetize this. Period.
Okay.
Right. And I need you to just like let your mind spend the week. How do I monetize? How do I monetize? Right. That's number one. Then number two, I want you to write up a plan for your next event, and then bring that in front of the class before the event starts, before you put any money down. Because here's a chance to use the power of your family to help you enhance it. Because in the end, we all need you to win. Look, this class is built so black folks win, so my children have a different place to live in, right? And so at the end of the day, ain't nobody in this, even if Shakina just starts saying, suck, trash, suck, that's great advice. Because if you can't defeat her, that means your plan is weak as fuck. That's simple. A good plan, like I wish you met one of my mentors. I had this one mentor, man, Joe Williams. Man, if you brought any trash in front of him, he would execute you. He wouldn't even cut you, just execute you, like game over. And like you'll walk out there like, I hate him so much, right? But I learned one lesson because I got dog in me. Well, now I got wolf in me, you understand me? But I had dog in me at the time, and it was like, yo, you ain't about to defeat me and punk me out like that and send me home like a little sucker. I'm gonna try again. And after a while, I started to come back where he started saying, okay, that's solid. Are you still a little trash here, but it's way better. And that's how I became better. So this is your family here. And I think you're on to something. I think you're in a good direction. And I think you're the person to do this shit, because listening to you is like, once you get your principles aligned, man, you like a motherfucking hot rod in the middle of Manhattan. You ain't got no place to go, but you got hella power. So once I open up that fucking road for you, man, you about to be doing all kind of donuts and then take off hella fast. Motherfucking Teslas can't catch your ass. So anyway, that being said, let's pause here.
Okay.
Those are the first two things, but we're going to build this. We're going to continue to build as a family, and we're going to ride that journey. And at some point, you'll take off without us. But in this early stages, we're going to help you get some of those kinks out the way, because it's just kinks. It's not, I don't see thinking flaws. And I think you're the perfect person to pull this off.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead. Pass her the microphone. Oh,
Oh, she got it.
how the hell she sitting down with crutches to get a microphone? That was magic. Go ahead.
Levitate.
She can't hold her whole microphone. Anyway, I got a question to say something.
Thank you so much. 2 questions and then a comment. When you were doing your first event to your last event, how did you decide upon what you were going to pay all of your vendors, those that were included, and how you were going to charge your ticket fees, like for whoever was attending?
Between the first and the second?
I'm not sure how many events you've had, but like, was your process different from your first event to your last event?
Yes. In the second event, I was intentional to set up the kind of event where, absent of some of the frills, the baseline things were being paid for. So I it was ticketed, right? People paid, they paid up front. There was an outline of what they would get for their money. So you pay $85 for a ticket, and that entitled you. In that, you got $60 spending credit for where the event was, and the rest of that was used to cover the transportation costs. Because I got one of those sprinters to take people into the city because it was the convenience of it, right? Looking back at it, though, I should have either decreased the amount of shopping credit that they got, or I should have increased the price of the ticket. Because I still had to lay out for the cost of the transportation just out of my personal pocket. I was thinking the entire time when I was setting the ticket price, get out your customer's pocket, get out your customer's pocket. But I didn't want to go into a 3-digit cost because for some reason, I felt like I didn't want to go there.
Okay.
In doing the postmortem in my head, I don't want to just be picking a price in the wind, which is what I felt like I did. I want to be a little bit more deliberate about how I come up with what it costs.
And my question for how you chose, like, your vendor payments and your ticket pricing goes back to digging into your numbers so that you actually know your baseline cost, so then you can protect your profit. Because, like, I mean, I have no idea what your numbers are, but let's say you charged $120 a ticket
Sure.
instead of $80 or $100. That's $20 per person. At least you're in some profit zone.
Yeah.
But just knowing, like, what your actual costs are going to be, you want your ticket to be above that because you want all your costs to be covered. And that's an easy starting point to be like, if I want to create this experience, these are all of the fees that I need to cover. And then on top of that, what profit margin do I want to make for it to be worth my time? When you're doing these events, are you tracking your time to understand your cost value that you're giving up for the hours that you're putting into your events, because your time is your most valuable asset. So in addition to your capital you're putting in, your time and attention are also valuable. So are you calculating how much time you're spending in that when you're planning these events?
The short answer is no, because I'm able to work my job in such a way where I can probably work at 65% and get work done. So I feel like a lot of the work I've done for this has been on work time. So it almost didn't feel like not getting compensated for your time, because I'm getting compensated for my time. Do you know what I'm saying?
And then my last, this one's just a comment.
Yeah.
From personal experience, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate for everybody. But I think that when you can take your idea down to the smallest option, and you can make that tight on a minimal budget, and you can carry people with you as you enhance your flyers, your experience, and everything else, it actually adds value to you and your brand, because people are a part of your growth experience, and then they want to see you grow and help you elevate because they see that you're constantly making improvements. And I think that a lot of people are attracted to being a part of a success story. So that's something you may want to lean into before you liquidate all your capital, is saying, how do I leverage my relationships? Because I am primarily targeting people that know and love me. They got money. I mean, you said you're creating a luxury experience, so I thought your ticket prices was going to be like $200-300, because you're saying, I'm creating a luxury experience. And if you're having chefs and everything else, maybe there's a branding gap missing in there as far as like how you're positioning it, because it sounds like you're creating a really dope experience, but you're undercharging severely, but you're getting the social satisfaction of a successful event without the padding of the money, which means it's going to take away resources from you being able to plan something greater next time because you're just too strapped. So lean into that scruffy startup, because people love being a part of a come up and supporting the underdog. And like, if they can be a part of watching you grow, like that might actually help you, super.
Bring some people along, yeah.
Pass your to the microphone.
Online has questions
Oh, okay, go ahead. Jump on in.
for Kasha.
Anybody else in the class that want to jump in on questions or anything? Go
They
ahead.
got nested questions. Y'all supposed to only ask one. No, Tavita says she wants to know, did you partner with the vendors like transportation or simply hire them as a service?
Originally, my intention was to partner with the transportation service, but when they started hitting me with that per hour rate for the Sprinter van, I went on Turo. I pivoted. I went on Turo, I rented a Sprinter van, and I got a homie with a CDL to drive it. So I was able to bring my costs down from about $800 to like $300.
Okay.
I tried to cut that corner where I could.
Chris Foster says, Chris Foster says, what problem are you striving to solve? He has like 5 questions. What problem are you striving to solve? What feedback did you receive from your last experience? How would your approach change if you didn't have the security of your job?
Say the
First
first one
one?
again.
What problem are you striving to solve?
So with the first event and with the second, the intention of both of them is there are amazing businesses that are small businesses with artists and makers. People either may not know about them or they may understand them in a limited capacity. So here is so it was co-branded, right? Here is a broadening of all of the things that this business represents, what it can do. I mean, some of y'all was there. The first event was a dinner at Black Girls Greenhouse. We got a chef with visibility to do a 5-course dinner with That's My Jam. So it was a co-branded event with me and Marquita. The chef did a jam flavor for each of the courses. So for people who maybe just saw it on a limited basis, like toast and biscuits and jam, it was able to elevate the use of the product to another level. And then with the second event, I had a relationship with a specialty olive oil and balsamic vinegar shop in the city. And so it was like a shopping event. So people pay $80, they got $85, they got a $60 shopping credit, they got transportation into the city, and they kind of closed the store down to do like an educational component. People got to shop with their credit and beyond. So that furthered that relationship. It was able to make that small business money. It was able to put that store that if you're not in Noe Valley, you didn't even know that was there. So to give visibility to them. So it's really for me to help connect people with small businesses.
So what I would say is to go to the first question. Sorry, Chris Foster, I'm hijacking your question. But but the first thing, it was able to elevate the brand. What metrics are we looking at to be able to say that? And you may not know that now.
I don't.
But it's important to know what you're trying to do, because who says that it elevated the experience of the brand? How do we know that, and what were we looking for? So that's the first thing. Just like, let's not take it for granted that what we sought out to do is what we actually did. Let's have some way of being able to say, did we do this, and this is a win? Because you don't really know. And you probably, in order to elevate a brand, you'd have to do that several times.
Okay.
Okay, real quick before you go further, station identification, commercial time.
What'd you say?
Here's a commercial. There's an elephant in the room that she's highlighting. She's calling out your possible distortion. You have a fairness distortion that's really bad, really, really bad. And I think we're all hearing it.
You said a fairness?
Yeah, like you're into this like good guy, the low guy, top guy, the guy is being underserved. That's a story you run that all the time. And you're trying to mix that story into business, and you're projecting on everybody. Because if you're not pulling data, you got nothing to resell. And 2, if you're not pulling data, going back to Shakina's position, your time is a cost. And so, the event you said 5,000. I wasn't going to go this far, but since everybody's going to open up those can of worms, it's probably about 15,000. Your first event.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. Your time.
Oh, you time.
Oh, yes, it was.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Look, I had to remind myself how my mother would respond. Oh, yes, it was.
I misunderstood what you were saying. Sorry.
So the reality is that it's okay to see a problem because the fastest way to become a billionaire is solve other people's problem. But it's different if you're part of that romanticism movement of, oh, you're the underdog. If you don't know my past, you don't know if I'm the underdog. Right? I might just be getting what's coming to me because how I've been showing up until the day you saw me. Right? Like, what if that chef sucks as a business person? Right? What if the olive oil company positions himself in the worst neighborhood in the world and you sent customers to a dying business? No value there. Now, it's value if that's your industry, is I can, it's going to go against your values, but you see these dying businesses that got a 10% chance, a 2% chance of survival, or 1% chance of survival, I'll bring you some customers, just go and cash me out a little bit of something, I'll take care of you. You could be a bottom feeder like that. And it could be, I'm not even joking, that's the industry. But you got to be very honest about, you got to fix that little space there because it's muddy. And I hear a lot of champion a lot of moral ideas, and that's why Shabisha snapped into that right away because it's like, hey, pull data, look at the data. Data doesn't say anything. Let that shit go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Chris Foster's second question was, what feedback did you receive from your last experience?
I know I'm thinking back because this was July. I remember specifically asking some of the people that were there. You remember because I think you were one of the people I asked for feedback, how the event went. Did you, when we were working to come up with the logo, did you feel like the logo template was blending in with the experience you had when you was there? So I felt like I was intentional about coming back and asking questions to some of the attendees about.
None.
Yeah, they lied.
None.
They just,
None?
None. Two things about feedback. If you didn't write it down, you didn't get nothing.
Okay, I didn't write it down.
If you didn't write it down, you get that. Because why you don't need to write it down? Because your brain is going to be playing tricks on you. Two, you got to figure out how to map feedback. Because what happens is that if you ask, if I'm at a restaurant and the food is meh, if the chef walks out looking like he's been cooking all goddamn day and go, hey, what do you think about my meal? I'm like, oh, it's cool, man. It's cool. I'm never coming back again. Right? What I'm trying to explain to you is, and you can't even read it he gave a tip. Yeah, because the waitress was kind of cute and she took care of me. I mean, I don't like you. I ain't eat this food again. Right? So the reality is that you got to know how to properly seek out feedback. And the way you seek out feedback is you don't ask people good or bad, right or wrong. That's too much emotional weight. Hey, what do you think I could do better to make the event even more desirable? Right? And you'll hear the real feedback come through that. Because they say something like, just have better food or something, shit, have lights, the air staked, can you fix the bathrooms? You'd be like, damn. But they don't feel like giving you negative because they think they're trying to help you. But you have to ask them to help you, not to tell you whether you're right or wrong. That's too much.
the third thing I'll ask is, feedback feels like I got to do work. Give me some feedback. Now I feel like shit, right? So it's a weird thing because everyone says to ask for it. So this is just me coming at this from a different perspective, right? When I want to know something from someone, the last thing I want to do is make you feel like you got to work hard. Because mentally, I don't want to do this. So I'm going to give you whatever I got to give you so that I can feel like I did it, but don't give me a job. That's not what I'm in it for. So the way that you want feedback, but the way that you get it is by similar questions to what Nana said, like, how can I make this better? Another way is around, like, are they going to come to the next event? Like, are people pre-selling for your next event? If they're not willing to put out money, that's really strong feedback that they're not fucking with it. Really strong feedback. Mm-hmm. So you want your feedback, you just have to not only like map it back, but you also have to be clear about what it is that you want from them, because they can't design your next thing for you, right? So you have to kind of know, you have to have some vision of where you're trying to get to next, so then your feedback is focused and you can take action with it.
Okay.
Commercial.
Shabisha, that's helpful because now that I've had a second to think about it a little bit more, the feedback loop that I was in was making the process efficient, not how did the end user experience the process. Like I was
Same.
analyzing all the snafus and the pivoting that had to be done in the process, and that's where my focus was for feedback is going into the next event.
Scene. So, Charlie, I want you to pay attention. Everybody pay attention to this. What if this happened before your event? Think about how much further you would be alone. This is the power of groups. What if we did all this before the first event? What if the next event, the first event was 2 months from now, and you had a chance to reevaluate that, and then let your creativity go to work, right? Because in a sense, we can all talk about negative feedback. That's in hindsight feedback, right? We all be like, well, what I would have did, like Court, go back to what Court said. You go in the store, you're like, wrong, hell no, We all could do that. But this same power was always here for you. And this is why it's so important to understand that, like, and it doesn't mean that you have to come to class. You can literally say, hey y'all, Shabisha, Court, hey, listen, when you over here, look, Court, you go to the gym, I'm gonna just show up there for a minute, work out a couple sets with you. Hey, I got 3 questions. What do you think about this? Right? You don't, like, once again, you wanna make everything, you wanna think about the best way to extract information from people. Some people can sit down with you and have tea. And some people will be like, catch me when I'm running. You might have to go run some errands with somebody, right? But the key thing is that you start the discovery process to build your first hypothesis. What you don't want to do is be in your head, because your brain, it's not your head. It's nobody in this room that would have did any better if they stayed in their own head. Because what our brain always does, it rose colors everything. Like that's why, pivoting and stopping and stopping a business is hard, because your brain tells you, but if you just try this, it might work. And you'll do it to you damn near. You ever see somebody go to Las Vegas and they don't have enough money to come home to pay their rent? They don't have enough money to come home? The same rose-colored story they told themselves that kept them gambling is the same rose-colored story you would tell yourself when you're working on this project. So it was really that 5,000 was like you go to Las Vegas and you thought, well, you know what? Shit, I'm feeling good. Man, all these men around me with the shirts off, talking about go Kaja. Oh, shit. Oh, damn, I lost again. Well, that's okay. They were still here. Oh, well, goddamn. Right? And then you come back, like, what'd you learn? They didn't have their shirts on. That's all I remember. It's like, that's kind of almost what happened from a Las Vegas parallel. And what I'm saying to you is that this is a business course. You can even catch me sometimes. Everybody here has caught me somewhere. You might have caught me on a right turn, left turn, but you caught me somewhere. And the reality is that this is when, and there's enough intelligence in this room because people are better analyzing your problem than their own. So you may even see somebody in this room like, he don't never make no that shit. He always doing stupid shit, but when it comes to your problem, you like, this motherfucker's brilliant. That's how the human brain works. All right, with that being said,
Thank you.
anytime. Oh, Kaja, you got a question? Oh, no. I mean, Tennille, look, I look at that Kaja. Don't get on. Like, she done got all sensitive. Tennille. Oh, such a justice. That's why you need to practice that shit. Tennille. You just see me.
Okay, so I had a question in reference to your first event, because you mentioned that it was co-branded, so there were other businesses highlighted.
Yes.
So my question was, when you are co-branding and bringing in other businesses, are you requiring them to have some skin in the game? Like, are you requiring any type of financial investment on any level from them if they're benefiting from your event and their product is being highlighted and showcased?
Yes. Yes, but yes, and I needed to connect. My thought was, from a branding perspective, I need to connect a local artisan, Oakland-based or Bay Area-based product to this event. What better place to reach into than my own network, right? So I wasn't necessarily expecting a complete, like, equilateral financial investment, because it was my event and me saying, hey, I need a brand like your brand to attach to this event to fall in line with the branding. Do you want to be involved?
Social justice. That's what she's in that and social justice. Cause that was just social justice. Like when you think people are spending money, what if everybody that came to your event was investing money? But you looked at it as, I don't want them to spend. No, you didn't want them to make an investment. So everybody started the event. Because if everybody wants a return, it's investment. And the thing is, how do we monetize this collaboration? How do we all benefit from the collaboration, right? Business is really a different way of thinking than just group organizing or you could be part of a college club and do really, really well and suck in business because you're leaving a variable that there is all these psychological equations. There's a rule that says, for those of you thinking about buying a new car soon, the worst time to make a decision is when you're in it. You make the decision before you get there. That means you have to start to process all of the different experiences because the people you're dealing with, the reason I call them pimps and you were the only woman at a pimp event was because they're all trying to get theirs unconsciously to you. They're not trying to attack you. They trying to get paid. They trying to eat too. Some of the people back up to the wall. Marquita back is on the wall. She's never going to attack you because Marquita is probably she's probably the most moral person next to Jesus. Is Marquita, Jesus, Chris Foster, and everybody else, right? So she's high in morals, but she's a shark now. When we out here as entrepreneurs, we're wolves. And you came out there as a little kitten. Hi, wolves. You're gonna get eaten up every time. You gotta learn how to control the wolves. And it's not good or bad. They're in survival mode. They gotta eat. She has to hunt for a living. She ain't out there playing no more. And so you go out there and you looking all cute in a mini skirt while everybody's hiking, you about to get cut up. So it's just one of those things that you gotta understand the terrain you playing in. That's like me going out there, I'm gonna go out there and play with the Warriors tomorrow because in high school I used to be kind of nice with it. And then you wonder why Nana's over the side, bandaged up, and he didn't even touch the ball. I just fell falling back and forth. Who hurt you, Nana? The floor? Yeah, man, that floor hard, bro. Literally, that's how bad you were. You went amongst professionals talking that shit, and the professionals, somebody got that 5,000.
Yeah. I was gonna piggyback on that. I think about it when in my world, the AAU world, it's like the certain cultures of people are trying to crack the code of making their kids as competitive as the kids in the hood. So they hire all these trainers and best this and best that, and their kids get in the game and they still play trash. And it's because there's different levels of leverage and hunger in that. So if Chris Foster's question was dope, if this was your only means of generating revenue, would you think through this process differently?
Yes.
And that's how you got to move regardless whether you got a job or not, because that is the way you move as an entrepreneur. So there was a book that I read a while ago, and it was saying, do you want to make $1 million? Yes. All right. Can you make it by the end of the year? And I'm like, no. But then it said, what if I kidnapped your family? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'll do it, because now you just gave me leverage. And they said, well, why do I got to kidnap your family for you to have that same energy? Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying in entrepreneurship, you in the pros. You playing with the pros at that point. As soon as you step that toe into, boom, you're in the pros. And you got LeBron James, Michael Jordan, everybody running past you, Steph Curry. You're in a game with Steph Curry right now, so you can't ease your way into it, like you said. Fuckers look at you and they see fresh meat, so you gotta at least start with that energy of well, I'm not trying to score, I'm not trying to get any points, I just like the feeling of the court on the game and the crowd. You get eaten up, so it's just a mentality switch. And like you said, Marquita now is okay. All right, I gotta figure this out. Just keep the same energy.
Okay. Thank y'all. I appreciate the input. I really do, because I would tend to operate in a silo and then post-mortem on the back end. So it's good, like you said, Nana, had I asked, or we had this conversation before the event. So this is definitely very helpful. Thank y'all.
So ask her. The thing is that I next year, one of the things we're using for next year, and Josh, leave me alone. Somebody take this microphone or something like that. There you go. is the goal of class is we will have structured and we'll have our lecture series, but we're also going to do more engagement. So we have another question over here. I'm gonna just, but I want us to engage more because even when I'm teaching these classes, I think you get it, but I know you don't get it yet. Go ahead.
Oh,
there you go.
well, my question was more so to this is my first time hearing about what you do, and it all sounds very exciting to me.
Hold the microphone a little bit closer. There you go.
All sounds very exciting to me. So you chartered people from the East Bay into the city to a business. So had they taken either driven plus paid for parking or taken public transportation, they would have came out of pocket more money than what they came out of pocket. So you gave them a luxury service at a one-star price. Also with these businesses, which as a business, well, we're all business owners, but as business owners, if you're telling me you're bringing 10 people to my business and you charge it, yeah, I'm making money, and you've charged them, you're giving them back a $60 spend credit, well then to say, hey, can you slide me $10 to $15 of that spend credit? Because now I'm gonna give you, instead of at the $60 spend credit or $65 spend credit, I'm gonna give you gift cards that they can use. Part of that money goes into your pocket, but most people with a $50 or $60 gift card, they're gonna spend over what they spend with that just normally, which many did. So any and every business that you walk into that you're bringing people to need to be sliding you something, because this is also, it's marketing for them. It's free money. So
but
exactly.
but that's not that. So let's look at that idea also. I think there's some value here. Is there any value in that, y'all? This is just that part of my. We're not talking about her overall, like where she can get to. Is there any value in what that right there?
if she charges correctly, there is.
You're saying bringing customers to a business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so tell me how that would work. So guys, okay, I want you to take the cost of all the organizing that happens before, the labor force, and when you decide to scale that, because I'm sure she can't live off that income, but whatever that she made that night, if she made that every night, it's still not enough, right? Let's just say if she got $20 per person and it's 20 people, all right, it's $400. Does Nana come out the house for anything under $2,000 or $3,000? I won't even walk out my house. I won't even. Nana, we got this thing out here. Guy got $1,000. Well, tell him to go call my nephew or somebody. I'm not leaving my fucking house for that. Hang out with my daughter. So when you talk about scaling these ideas, the amount of hand-holding, engagement, labor, because the day of, the 400 now has to cover not only the day of, all those phone calls, all that organization, all the headaches that go along with that, all the relationship building, all the going to different places and talking to people. Okay, so now she really just spent, let's say that one event was $15,000. How did she make 30 to 45 grand that night? And is there a market that's willing to pay, once she does the math of it, is it a market that she's tapped into that would find value in? And I'm not saying it's not possible, but as she stated it, it's a horrible, there's no scaling in that. You can't scale that shit. Pastor, do we have two microphones now, don't we? Well, shit, Josiah need to lose a little weight anyway. Go ahead. Oh, don't get sensitive now, Josiah. You ain't part of the social justice. Give her the microphone.
When I first heard that you describe your initial event, my brain started like connecting the dots of like who's in the high-end food services. And the first person that came to mind for me was Rain Free, right? So she's been and like dropped in the class. She does upscale events. She's known in the community. She has her own space. She has chefs. So it's like thinking about people that are already doing something on a scale that you want to do. And then instead of you being leveraged, leverage them for their resources, because she's already has a primed market with people that will pay those dollars, and like, and it's not going to be a fight. It's.
But she's not gonna fuck with her.
No, not yet. But
She's not gonna talk to her.
But what I'm thinking is, so I agree for the stage that she's at. But what I'm saying is, think about all of the people that are like that you could start building relationships with, that you could start aligning your brand with, that you could start mimicking. Because it's like, even if you're starting off really small, like you're not going. Rain's events are crazy. It's going to take a minute to get there, right? But maybe you go understudy or go buy a ticket to one of her events and you go watch her and see what she does.
What about fall in love with what you do before you do it?
Yeah.
Like, what if you're reading about people that do anything close to what you're doing, the food industry as a whole, and find the holes and gaps and learn the way the hidden system behind the scenes are really working? Right? What are the margins in these areas that are traditional? If you don't have that real grip on that, then your hope and desire of becoming somebody is overriding your ability to do business. You're not aligned with it, because desirability is like, well, what's the desire level of the market? What are people spending on this kind of shit? Where is this successful? Who's really good at this? And there's material, like, you know, the difference between your generation, because you're way younger than me, and my generation, because ain't nobody else in here that's older than me, is if I want to learn something, well, Corey's on the back end. He's like 10 years ago, something like that. But he's part of that same experience where when we wanted to learn something, we had to go find somebody who will put us on. You guys are in the age of the internet, where the conversations that usually only happen in ballroom, privacy, is now the information is online. Huh? Well, you look good, girl. Okay, you eat a lot of apples or some shit. I don't know. But the point is this, right? It's that the reality is that fall in love with what you're trying to do first, because it doesn't look. Go back to uncertainty, people. Just because this is what you want to do doesn't mean that's where you're gonna end up. You start off with what you desire, and you find new things based upon the possibilities, that's interesting, I didn't know that it even existed. I didn't know this was happening. And you start to slowly shift before you know it, you're over here, inspired by this over here. So I don't like to tell anybody inspirational space now, but what I'm trying to say is that, but don't go into inspirational space and just make inspiration your main resource. So unfortunately, you gotta start eating and drinking this stuff to a point that not just don't pride your business on, I know these things, I built these relationships, people always come to me. Okay, cool, that's ego. Now let's talk about business. What's happening? Where are the possibilities in business? Where can I monitor? Where are some parallel type businesses or similar businesses that I can test these ideas and see if they work? Because let me say this also, you may have an idea that sounds like a great formula in isolation. Hit the market, it's a bad idea. But 3 years from now, it's a great idea. That's life.
Yeah, that reminds me of voltage, right? It's like at scale. When you, what we're basically saying is next logical steps, right? So it was a good illustration over there when he was talking about, you may think somebody blew up overnight, but they had been bubbling this up under the surface all the way to there, right up under the surface, and then the next day you saw them peak the surface and they blew up. Like falling in love with what you do and becoming an expert, and now you have a network of people who lean on you for that type of shit anyway, to where they're like, man, you should be getting paid for this because you've done so much of the work and you've been playing in this space and learning above and beyond what normal people do about what's going on. Hey, let me call Kaja. What's the best over time, because you've you would do it for free and you're fascinated and obsessed with it, that the money just starts coming, because the minute you snap your fingers and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this they're lining up. Or if they don't line up, it's still like a progression into the space. And you may change it. You may go, you may get two blocks down the street and be like, I'm gonna make this left because this left is better. And now you're over to the left of what you originally wanted to do, but now you found the well of money. If you know Ashley, right? Ashley has a very similar business model. And so she had been for years, I remember 3 years ago, she was trying to fester the idea what she wanted. And then year 1, she was like, what do you think about that? I'm like, I don't know what that, you got to be more detailed. Year 3, so she started finally figuring it out what she wanted to do. And then now she ends up going into a separate, different space than what she originally wanted, but it's still similar. And now she's in love with what she does. So don't be, you said play, for real play though, like play with the ideas too, you know.
All right, let's just do a few slides. We don't probably do like three or four slides. Then we're gonna call it a night but this was great. I think we're gonna include more of these. So if some of you guys are interested in just kind of putting some of your business ideas or things you're working on or projects you're working on in your leadership roles, just let us know and we'll schedule those. Like, you know, not every class because they do consume space, and I want to make sure that I'm also expanding our thinking and then testing our thinking, expanding our thinking and then testing our thinking. And then also, as you guys give feedback, I'm also listening to the way you're equating certain things. But I stopped Kaja on purpose because she's dealing with that's a typical challenge that most people go through when they have a job. I remember there was somebody, I ain't gonna say who their name was, who about a year ago decided to become a full-time entrepreneur in his class. But they came from a really well-padded job. And they started struggling. And as they were struggling, somebody in his class came to me and said, I'm so glad they're struggling because this was gonna make them an entrepreneur. Before they were struggling, they just assumed everything they knew was right. But when your ass gets close to that ground, boy, you'd be surprised how your beliefs will be re-engineered like that fast. And so I love this. And so for some of the established entrepreneurs and those of you online, if you want to participate in this, let me know as well. We'll figure a way to have you included in the process. So this is it, about 4 slides real quick. And then we won't be able to get through, I think we had some 26 slides, but we're not going that far today. We'll just hit 4 slides and call it a day. Rachel Bisha? Is it really going to expand on anything, or is it just kind of a? It's a non-Kaja question. Oh, good. Go ahead. It's a non-Kaja question. Go ahead.
Ein said, this is going back to you saying about building a team and not doing things by yourself. Mm-hmm. Her question is, how do you go about building a team? Also, Black-owned business promotion, is it giving a leg up or is it stifling?
It depends. It's too high level. The question is too high level. You have to get into like doing a promotion in which way. I remember back in the days, I used to say, when people say, "Oh, support Black businesses," I was like, "Why? If they don't make you want to go over there, then that's a motivation for the business to become better, right?" Because pricing is not a decision maker for business. You can actually charge more and do better, right? And on top of that too, I think with Black businesses, I'm not sure if we even value the Black market yet, to show up properly to the Black market. Because when you see people who value us, you feel a difference, right? There's been clothing companies that's made millions, different companies that made millions off of our culture, and they showed up saying, "We see you, we value you, we're going to design this just for you," right? Even at them N1 suckers, because that was some pimping ass, cold-blooded shit. But when they designed those sport events, it was well designed for us, right? So there's just ways to think about, if you value the Black market, you'll see the Black market. You don't value the Black market, then you got somebody, third party saying, "No, you need to buy Black." Why? That's not sustainable. I don't do charity spending I don't go to a supermarket where everything's spoiled and all because I like the owner and I'm just going to keep buying fruit from them every week because I might do it once. I'm like, yo, just help them get on their feet to feed the kids. But after a while, I'm like, man, get some fresh fruit so I never come back to this motherfucker again. I'm going back to Berkeley Bowl. Fuck with my earthly folks. See, I give earthly people money. Huh? See? Huh? Yeah, I'm at Berkeley Bowl. Yeah. There you go. Shout out to earthly people. Anyway, let's do this. You got a microphone? All right, let's go.
Compliance, another way of simply saying use, is a non-negotiable ingredient for just about every policy, program, or enterprise at scale. Just as focus groups need to be wary of misrepresenting who the population will be at scale, so designers of pilot studies have to look out for whether compliance levels might drop with an expansive rollout. This hidden trap crosses over to the business world as well.
So what they're saying is that as you grow a business, everything will change, including the market. And sometimes when you expand your business, you can actually lose your core customer. And so, or you expand your business and your customer changes the relationship to your product. And so as you grow your company, you have to run experiments of or have these virtual hypotheses that say, if we get this size, how may this change the way customers interact with my business? So this is why a lot of businesses die when they grow, because they didn't think about, they was designed perfect for ma and pa on the corner, but they didn't design the business for expansion, scaling, or any form of growth. So the first thing you have to think about when you grow a business is that, will my customers change? Will the conversations change? What will change once I start to grow my business? And you'll be surprised, compliance, which is how do they use my product? You know, if you ever watch companies that blow up, like say even clothing companies or product companies, there's not just research to sell the product, there's research around how people use your product, when they use your product, how are they going to use your product, right? If your product requires 2 drops and is broken, that's bad. I don't give a fuck how pretty it was, how well the designs was, how well it worked on first entry, right? 2, what happens when your product goes from business people to youth? Is it still sustainable? It's sometimes you'll be surprised. You may even design a product with its intent to, say, a fork to eat something, and you find out most people are digging holes with it. You're like, oh, what the fuck? So you have to go beyond in your research, just research to sell, but research of what is your product's life while it's in the hands of the customer. And if you don't know that, you may be dying on the vine because 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, it destroys the relationship. You were even aware of it. It's a hidden destroyer. Next one. Any business
that is built on recurring purchases.
So pause. That's a trick. None of us are in business to sell an item one time. That's not good business. That's a hard-ass fucking life. Right? That's a hard-ass life. Because that means you have to travel a lot. Otherwise, you go saturate your market and you're like, fuck, go find some more people. You need a lot of your customers to be reoccurring customers. So the compliance game and learning your customers, you don't just learn the customer to sell, you learn the customer for reoccurrence. Go.
And consumption runs into this compliance conundrum.
Yes.
That to scale, you need people to not only come to what you've built, but also actually use it and receive enough of a benefit that they'll use it again and again.
So that's why even some of your pricing is based upon usage level. If you sell a product that person is going to not purchase again for another, like I said, a big screen television, people are not buying those every month, right? So the pricing reflects that. But if people are buying televisions every month, the pricing also will reflect that. So as you design your pricing system, you have to think about that. But think about this. If you sold a Samsung television, if the TV feels like this cheap-ass shit after the second year, they're going to LG next year. That's not good business. That means that even in his third or fourth, if the average usage is 4, 5, 10 years, in that lifespan, it has to be able to uphold his relationship to the customer's expectations. Whatever your lifespan is. And you need to be aware of that, and you need to test that whole process out. If you have a special cream that when you get down to the bottom, the cream gets hard, we got a problem. There was a student that gave me a cocoa butter type based cream. So I didn't use it for a little while, and I finally started using it. And then halfway through it, it felt like I was punching the middle of the jar to get the stuff. That's a bad solution. Back to the drawing board. So you got to think about business not as I'm just trying to sell something once. I'm trying to have this relationship. Relationships mean that I can have a reoccurring engagement to the product or services that you sell. Go ahead.
Trader Joe's can't get you hooked on one of their dips if you don't try it and like it first.
Mm-hmm.
The same goes for products that are actually physically addictive, like cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if you don't show up on the first day of the Back to Work training program and find it useful, you're not likely to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the medication for a few days but still start feeling better, you're less likely to complete the full course of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So for an idea or product to succeed at scale, it's not enough to simply find your audience. You also have to make sure your audience actually engages in the desired fashion with what you have to offer.
Pause. And this is up for negotiation. So let's listen to, as you guys had a chance to listen to Kaja kind of lay out layers of her business. You guys heard the complexity? Anybody heard the complexity in it? When she was just talking, it just was layers and layers and layers of complexity. But then there's another layer of complexity, which is, okay, Kaja, now that you identified your customer, now you've identified a minimum viable product, now we got to talk about reoccurrence. And you may be sitting in your chair right now thinking, oh shit, so many words. God damn, layers. Damn, I don't know if I'm ready. Yes, we all. When you drive a car, you do the exact same thing. You do the exact same thing. You got layers to driving a car. But you learn one thing at a time. And you adjust, and you adjust. And before you know it, you're a walking complexity. You're not meant to walk in this class and be motherfucking Einstein. You become Einstein through the process. So the reason I'm so proud of Kaja, because she went out and sold some shit. Remember we had a class called Go Sell Some Shit. And as she went out to go sell some shit, she learned things about her she would have never knew if she sat at home and been theorizing. Yeah, because people can stay in that getting ready stage for the rest of their life. When you go sell some shit, you'll find a whole bunch of gaps. And it's not a moment of intimidation. It should be a moment of excitement that, hey, I can see what I can work on and I can climb this ladder. So adding to your layer of complexity is you got to start to play this. If people don't properly use your stuff, let's say you bought a Court Smith t-shirt, but you never wore it. Because say you put it on and air blew through it because he chose some material. I don't know shit about clothes. So I don't want to hear no lecture afterwards. But let's say the air just blew through it as soon as you went out in the middle of a warm day. You're like, I feel cold. I don't want to wear this, but it's a beautiful shirt. Well, if you don't wear it, he's not getting exponential growth. Because you got to, when people don't say, hey, where you get that from? You ain't talking about it, right? So he has to think about, well, when you put this shirt on, and also, how many times you gonna wear the shirt before you wash it? And when you wash it, how's it gonna hold up? If you wash it and the shirt looked like it had a plastic meltdown, and you find yourself trying to pull it apart in the sun, he's gonna lose money. So he can't just own the idea of designs on some cotton and have somebody manufacture it for me. He has to have a hell of a quality customer experience type of management system. Otherwise, he's a one-hit wonder. And let me tell you why that's not small. Because you can become drunk off of sales. Oh, I sold some shit. But at the end of the year, you still can't pay all your bills, baby. At the end of the year, your account still says overdraft. And you're always selling, it just ain't nobody coming back. And don't do the when people ask for money online, what do they call that shit? GoFundMe. Some of y'all run businesses like GoFundMe. Y'all be guilting the fuck out of people to go buy that shit one time. It's your responsibility to figure out how to get the customer back. It's not the responsibility of the customer to come and support you because you black and all the shit I did for you. You know I've been a true one in the neighborhood this whole motherfucking time. Your shit sucks. Next slide.
Naturally, the question of why people don't take medication that will benefit them is more baffling and psychologically complex than why people don't buy this or that dip at Trader Joe's. The difference is that with most medications, the cost is immediate, while the benefit, feeling better, comes in the future. But with the dip from Trader Joe's, you experience the tasty benefit the moment you ingest the product. Since humans tend to have present bias, we place higher values on immediate things. It's not easy to get people to consistently take a medication if the benefits won't kick in for weeks or months. Yet ultimately, the challenge is identical because in both cases, and everything in between, success all comes down to getting the incentives right.
So, this is why a lot of trainers die on the vine. I know you're going through this, but this is so in the future you can feel good. I don't feel good now. Like, the first time I experienced a class in exercising that I felt I enjoyed, it's my personality that helps me. I value working out because I get immediate benefits of the thinking, problem solving, and how I feel the next day, that evening, right? But when you first start, that shit hurts. And they try to tell you that sore shit is the hottest shit, and this is why you go out of business. I went to the spin class. It was this Italian woman. She's this little small 56-year-old Italian woman. And she will whoop everybody's ass in the spin class. I mean, she was just kamikaze. But she made that shit so motherfucking fun. So you got that immediate pleasure that allowed you to play the long game. Some of y'all forget to engineer back into your products or service. How do I give people immediate pleasure? Not how do you use my product or service, and 5 or 10 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, 3 days, you should feel better. Now you in the medication game, and now you wonder why you're failing. Because the human brain wants immediate satisfaction. I don't know if you ever bought this shit from Court Smith. So I don't remember Court did a big fashion show when he broke out his those fancy names. Young people, women's, my shit, because I can't, young people shit was too tight for me. Young people, women, my shit, and then I think some really sportsy shit, and then a lot of accessories. So I'm hyped up because it was like a fashion show. He had all the fancy graphics and sounds and beautiful people walking up and down, wine being served, room lined up with black folks. So I'm hyped up. I'm like, yo, let me get this, let me get that, and get this. Right? But I ordered. I didn't like, yo, Court, go back there and get me some shit, right? I was like, I'm ordering shit because like I really like my man's shit. Shit shows up. Box hella sexy. Wrapping hella sexy. Bag hella sexy. I'm like, look at this motherfucker here, right? Like he's telling me before when I open my product, yo, this shit right here, that's exactly what he just said to me. This shit right here, it's for you, huh? I'm fucking with you now. This shit right here. Kaja, this shit right here, it's for you. I'm fucking with you, Kaja. That's what that box says. Some of y'all be sending that shit in that little plastic bag, and then you put it in a little zip bag for UPS and send the shit, and then you lowering the quality. Now, if your brand is strong enough, you can get away with some of that. But as he's climbing his brand value, he's playing on your immediate impression. So before you even put the fucking t-shirt on your body, you already feeling some kind of way. He's playing that same game that says, if you spend $100 for some cashmere socks, and you tell your partner, like, man, you ever wear cashmere socks? He's like, nah. And he spends $100 for cashmere socks, he would swear up and down it's a different experience because he spent $100. Court is pimping that game. That's the same game here. He's understanding that your psychological experience shapes how you show up to your products. Then on top of that too, I promise you, if you call Court and say, yo, Court, the strings fell out of this material, oh, he ain't gonna be like, well, it's your fault. Well, maybe the Shakira, because she be doing too much. But everybody else, he won't say it's your fault, right? What he would say is, send me your shit. Because he's protecting the long-term relationship for reoccurrence. I saw somebody the other day argue with a fucking customer and blame the customer. I walked to the customer and said, that motherfucker tripping, and then walked out the store. I couldn't help it. I was like, I ain't never seen no shit like this. You gonna tell the customer, well, if you wanted this, you should have told me, because now I got to? Motherfucker, what? I said, I'm glad it wasn't me. There was a woman with her kids. I walked back, hey, sis, I understand what you're going through. This motherfucker tripping, and walked out. You got this game fucked up. Motherfucking Calvin Klein told me, I saw a pair of pants on Calvin, because I was trying to wear these like really construction style jeans, right? I like masculine shit. And so I was on Calvin Klein website about to order these jeans. But you know, you order jeans on websites, you don't know how that shit gonna fit, right? You black, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? We got different curves. You know, we just do. We ain't got the Euro. You ain't got those Euro curves. You know. By the way, the new word is. You know what Mashama said the other day? I gotta leave the room. Go to the bio. And I said, what the fuck is a bio? It's a restroom, right? So that's what I'm doing. So I've been overdoing it now. So I'm gonna destroy that word anyway. So I go to order this shit online. Bios, like, you know, release your bio, chemicals. You understand me? It's a clean way bio, B-I-O. You know, bio. Bondo. Bios is bios. Oh, okay. It's not biograde. It's bio.
No, he said BioBreak. B-I-O.
BioBreak. Yeah, biological. Yeah, BioBreak. Y'all two. Everybody here, y'all read too many fucking books. Y'all gotta get out of my ignorant level. So anyway, so I'm in the store and I'm on the line and I'm looking at these pants like, oh, these kind of they loose and, you know, got the little like painter cut on the side, you know, with the little loop and everything. I'm like, that's a manly Shepherd rock. Those are some Timberlands. You know, being on Harley, that's kind of nice. Like those. Motherfuckers told me, oh yeah, but if you don't like them, it's $7 to send them back. Next, you gonna punish me because I have a body that doesn't know what the fuck is like? You don't sell it in the store down the street. I can just like, hey, well, then go to Macy's if you don't want to order online. You gonna punish me because you done brought some Japanese cut I can't fit. You got the game fucked up. You never punished the customer. Huh?
You charge them $50 and say, if these don't work for you, we'll take them back
That's it.
for free.
For free.
No cost.
Otherwise, I'm going to wait till I go to the store, and guess what? You're out the game. Or I'm going to the competition that says, guess what? If Adidas say, yo, man, you put them on your feet, you don't like them, man, send the shit. Nordstrom said, man, wear the shit for a week. Send the shit back. I don't give a fuck. Let's go. You be like, man, I'm a Nordstrom partner. I'm going to call him up every week. He be let me rock. Man, I like Nordstroms like that. Right? I'm saying, like, relationships, reoccurrence. Let me see. 2 more slides, we home. Go ahead. Sorry, Josh. I know. Muzzle top. Go ahead.
In other cases, the lack of fidelity to non-negotiables is more subtle or nuanced. This leads to program drift, also called mission drift.
Okay, I'm gonna tap this, but we're gonna get back to this next week because this is, ooh, shit. This is one that. This is getting into tactics. This is nasty. I'll try to hit it quick as I can, but we'll redo this slide again next week. But I'm trying to cover it fast. Go ahead.
Which is starkly different from non-compliance in that the lack of fidelity stems from the behavior of the idea's implementers rather than the behavior of its users. Mm-hmm. With program drift, the non-negotiables are not fulfilled at scale, either because of organizational constraints that weren't present in the small scale, or because implementers either won't or can't replicate the program faithfully.
Pause. There's 2 kinds of drifts. This is the first one. But this is a very, very fucking important one. When you grow your business, you start having internal problems. Let's say, my man, what's your name? Court? Quick? Oh, pimping ass names, man. Court and Quick. That's okay. I'm gonna change my name just so I could be fly. But anyway, so let's just say Quick says to me, we're working together. We're building this product. But then we're working on a product. I don't really like the way Quick his design. Say he's a designer. I don't really like his designs. So I decide, Kaja, take Quick space, quick. Why don't you go over here? But my customer base sees Quick as a reason they're there. And even though we have our internal beefs, I just lost a whole big ass portion of my customers, and can I afford that? Right? So as a business owner, you got to find out, based upon the desirability game, what's non-negotiable. You can start growing so big that now you're like, well, since we big, I got to be feasible. I need to do it this way now to cut some corners, because there's no way where I can scale this idea. But you just shifted the idea. And when you internally shift the idea because of all internal workings and conversations, and you never wrote on the wall, these things are non-negotiable. It can never change. We can change all the shit around it, but this right here can never change. And you may change that because you think, oh, a better system, or that didn't make sense, or now that we this size, it doesn't work, and you just killed your business. And that little guy that's right behind you, that's coming up behind you, snatches your market share. So you got to start off from day one about my business based upon my relationship to the desirable relationship to my customer. What would my customers say is non-negotiable? If I don't bring this, they have no reason to ever fuck with me again. Now, when you build your business, now once you identify what is non-negotiable, can your non-negotiable scale? Can you do that? Can you maintain that non-negotiable at 100? Cool. Can you do that at 500? Can you do that at 10,000? Hell no. Then that's a bad idea. Let's redesign it while you're at 100. Because if you don't redesign it, you're just building your own destruction. That's all you're doing. So ultimately, as a business, this is part of the early vision of, that's why I said earlier that question, like, is it scalable? If she had, say, 800 people a week she was doing that for, there's a labor cost, transportation costs, problems that come with 800 people that changes the whole conversation. Is it profitable? You can't do simple math. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. Okay, so if I get 2 times 2, okay, I might make $50,000. That's hood math, right? Well, I put that 4 on that 7. Shit, that's like $100,000 right there. Right? So the reality is that I wish y'all come to my family Thanksgiving. This shit's real for me. So because I really got a brother-in-law that talks just like that. But the reality is that you got to think about your non-negotiables of whatever business you design and whatever is part of your core brand of non-negotiables. If you have a business that is designed for, like, say, young people, and you decide to adjust to a mature audience, and young people represent 80% of your market, you just fucked yourself. Because you have also a market. You have a business that's designed around the size of your market with a certain amount of fluctuation, and now you just chop that portion of your business off. So you have to understand upfront what's non-negotiable. Go ahead. Huh? Oh, Pastor Mike. That's how it happened last time. That's the magic. You little trick. You Mr. Hallucination. Go ahead.
So what do you do, which I'm not 100% sure about this. We were having this conversation earlier about non-negotiables. But what do you do in the event that a large percentage of your feedback from your business, a non-negotiable, is a employee that is not performing? You define what about that employee that everybody loves, and match that profile with the person you put in that space. And then you tell a story. Remember the power of storytelling? Remember, you could tell any fucking story you want and get people to do whatever the fuck. Oh, no, that's manipulative. Tell me a business that doesn't do it. Y'all truthers. You're the truthers. The reality is that every business makes up a story. Disney is a walking, you spending crazy cash in somebody else's stories. There's not a such thing as a business that you walk in that is not a story.
the reason me and the founders found this place and what we believe in here is that we had this goulash that is designed from the original animals that we actually went back to Egypt and discovered that they were actually from California. So that's why we opened up in Oakland and we built this just for you, because at the end of the day, we care about our community. And motherfucker, what? Now, it's okay to believe that story because that's what you want to believe. And that's cool. That's not good or bad. But what you have to remember is that you are the story maker now. So that person has a story that creates the attachment. Your job is to create a parallel story for somebody to take their place. But when you create that story, you already have the profile of the person that's going to serve that role based on those people, unless you decide you want to change your market. And that's a mathematical question. But non-negotiables have to be very, very, very clear. You can have a front desk. You know, Court had a real pretty girl working the front desk. He probably had a lot of men's sales that day. Hey, man, she was pretty. Fuck what you heard. So it's like, but if all of a sudden she blows up and all of a sudden he's known for having pretty people selling products, he can't put his unattractive cousin in front at the desk. It might be a non-negotiable for that type of business. That's why he's killing Adidas and Nike right now. I'm being silly, but it's really that sensitive. That when you decide to shift something in your business, you got to be very delicate with your non-negotiables.
Keep going.
Yeah.
This causes an entirely different program to be provided at scale. So program drift is akin to a restaurant chain putting a lobster dish on the menu at its first few locations, then continuing to offer the item at new locations nationwide, only instead of lobster, the dish is made with crab.
Woo.
For a more consequential example of program drift, we can look at the U.S. government's National Head Start program.
Last slide that we go on, this next slide, last slide.
Following the Head Start model already established, Early Head Start aimed to support parents in taking a more active role in their children's educations. One of the linchpins, read non-negotiables, of Early Head Start is its home visit services. Twice a month, a worker visits each family for about an hour and a half and helps parents find ways to stimulate their child's development.
Okay, listen to this. This is nonprofit people or people who do community work or
This is horrible.
partially casual with your part-time work. Go ahead.
In the early years after Early Head Start launched, the home visiting program yielded significant gains in school readiness and strengthened parenting practices. A win all around, at least when done on a small scale.
So a lot of nonprofits, you guys start these ideas on small scale. Everything's looking perfect. It's working. Oh my God, it's time to scale this. But nobody in nonprofit thinks about scaling. Go.
However, when the program scaled, it experienced considerable voltage drops.
Meaning nobody gives a fuck no more once it's scaled. Go ahead.
Specifically with home visits for at-risk families. Upon closer scrutiny, it turned out that there was significant variation in the quality of home visits across the country.
Mm-hmm.
More people served at scale meant more opportunities for the quality to slip.
So, for example, what they're saying is that you start off a service in a local town, and you got a group of people that's very passionate, but you also talk to each other all the time. You live like you work in the same building, or you guys are interacting because you're very close. So because you're close, you are unconsciously developing processes, procedures, and systems and branding. So when people go out, they kind of hold that as the Bible of the group. But as you scale, if you don't push that branding, if you don't prioritize internal branding, I mean, you don't brand as just sale to get products. You also brand for team compliance. Branding is pushing a story inside your group to gather compliance. Remember I told you, stories create human compliance. So you say, okay, now when we was 10 and everybody came and talked to me every day, I was always driving these stories and was reinforcing these stories, so then everybody kind of stayed lock and step, right? But once we got to 1,000 people, they don't see me no more, right? But what I forgot to do is grow an internal branding campaign that started to drive my story so strong, and then create systems also of incentives and also systems of like how to penalize people who step outside those incentives, and how to evaluate their job, and how to even design the right processes to maintain consistency. I mean, you have to design consistency. But what happens when we scale, we think we can just keep going copy-paste, 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 and then we wonder why by the time we get to the third copy-paste, we start seeing losses. It's because we didn't realize that you're not talking to those people no more. They don't even see you no more. They're out here on an island running your business with your name, and they have outside incentives, and you're not branding internally every day. You're not running campaigns every day. This is who we are. This is why we show up. This is what we think about. You're not taking your managers on retreats going, hey, this is why I'm here. This is what you're doing. What problems are you having? This is how I would solve them. You're not unifying communication. You're not cross-networking people. You're not creating diversity within your teams, and you lose your business. So with that being said, there's a couple of chairs outdoors before y'all go home. If y'all can just grab a couple of chairs, and it's been great. Next week, got class next week. We're gonna pick up from where we left off, but this is more tactical. And how do you pay attention to these key things that you need to think about up front, not once you're growing? Because if you start growing on a bad idea, you can literally choke yourself, because as that idea grows, you die. That being said, as they say in Washington, D.C., I'll see y'all later. We out.